That's what I'm talking about. Like, we were both gamers. We've both been in the space of gaming for a long
Mhm.
time. We both
Yep.
lived through Gamergate and all this other bullshit like that.
Yep.
And I was still on the fence with Gamergate. I was more so on the side of the gamers for Gamergate than like the media or whatever. But this one I can't really co-sign because it's like I've been on games and when I've even talked and I'm not even sensitive, but when I even talked in like Call of Duty or Halo, I get met with a
Mhm.
bombardment of N words, and I just had to
Oh, yeah.
power through it, you know,
Right.
or whatever the case. Now they I mean it still happens to this day, but it's not as prevalent as it was like back in the early 2000s. So I can imagine being a female gamer on top of that, and then on top of that, being a black female gamer. So it's like you gotta deal with all that. And I
Yep.
would understand them making their own space and whatever the case may be. And I just think me as just even as a man, I wouldn't even want to join a space unless I'm invited. I wouldn't even want to join a space, not just for black women, but for women in general. If it's a game like a gaming space or a foundation or whatever, I wouldn't want to join it. I would support it because I understand like even though I'm not a woman or whatever, I just understand just from observations how gamers treat women and everything of that nature. And that's not to say all gamers treat them. Like I'm not putting everybody in a stereotype, but we have to be realistic with ourselves as far as
Mhm.
like how gaming or how the gaming space in general treats women and how they act towards women, whether it's warranted or not. You know, like I don't know. I mean, and that's why I wanted to bring it up because it's like it's one of those things where it's like I think it's one of the dumbest arguments to make. I think it's almost like you're trying to nitpick something. Like these people never bothered anybody, and you just wanted to join the space to see if you can join the space, and then
Yeah. That's
ruffle some
really
feathers.
mean-spirited.
Yeah, ruffle some feathers and being like, the boy cried wolf or whatever the case may be. Um,
That's
I
kinda
don't.
yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. Like, this guy wants attention, and he's just trying to make drama to get attention. That's what it feels like to me. 'Cause, yeah, I mean, these people, they don't sound like they've ever hurt anybody, you know? Like, they're just trying to exist in their own spot. And this is the thing with with gamers in the internet. This guy's almost proving the reason why they created this community in the first place, you know?
Exactly.
Like like, they can't even exist on their own, not talking to anyone, not dealing with anyone, and people come in and try to ruin it, you know? It's like, god damn, man, like, Jesus, can anybody just have a nice thing, you know? It's like, I don't know. It's
It,
because
it's like you tell us don't be in our space. Well, you're telling us in so many words, we don't want you in our space. And we're like, okay, cool. We're gonna create our own space. And it's like, well, why won't you let us in that space? You just you just
you
said you
don't
didn't
want
want us.
me in your space, so why do you want to be in mine? Like, that
Exactly.
doesn't make any sense, you know? It's just no, it's just a control thing, dude. Like, that's what it feels like. Like, there's just I don't know. There's just this weird game. I kind of hate where gaming is, like from a cultural standpoint, and just the hierarchy of it. That the fact that there even is a hierarchy of it is so gross, and the people that are in these positions of quote unquote power, I guess, where they're like the even quote thought leaders on in gaming, like it's so ugly. Like, they're so ugly about everything. I don't get how this space exists where these people, because you said this, what was his name, Grums or something,
Yeah, Grums.
and he's like associated with the World of Warcraft team, I think you said.
From his bio, I'm looking at his bio right now. So his bio on Twitter says
Yeah.
official Twitter of Mark Kern, CEO and designer, former team lead of OG World of Warcraft, producer, Diablo 2 or yeah, Diablo 2, StarCraft, and then he just has Chrono Trigger is the best game. So but he was the producer of Chrono Trigger, or no,
Oh
sorry, not
my
Chrono Trigger, but
fuck.
Diablo 2 and StarCraft.
Oh my god. I know, dude. I just went to his Twitter and I saw his little pic. I've
Yeah.
seen this fucking dude before. I know why you blocked him. He does this shit all the time.
Oh,
This
really?
guy's this guy's a fucking asshole, dude. Like, I don't remember specific controversies with him, but I remember something with this guy that happened. But I don't know. Yeah. What? Anyways, it's just it's I don't know, like, because this guy's part of media now. I think, like, games
Yeah.
media
Yeah,
is
he
what it
is.
looks like. And what a surprise that somebody part of games media is a fucking asshole. Like, it's just I don't know. Like, there. I want all these
I
people to wash out so we can
can't
like be
believe he
normal.
was a producer of fucking StarCraft and Diablo. Well, actually, you know what? I can't believe that. Never mind.
I know,
Never mind.
right? Yeah, no, right? Yeah, right now you can. Yeah, is that something you really want in your bio anymore? Dude, like, yeah, no, it tracks that he would try to insert himself into a female community and get mad that they didn't want him there. Um, so who knows what fucking weird shit he was doing. But I don't know. It's just the like I these types of people, I don't know, there's just I don't know why gaming is the place where they're so prevalent. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. They're everywhere, right? We've seen it in like movies and stuff and like heinous shit with, but it's just it feels like in games there's this weird cabal slash group that's just prevalent in all of this, and they have unfortunately have tons of connections and shit, and it's like I don't know what you're supposed to do because they've made the conversation around games so toxic, and it's not about games most of the time anymore, to the point about the IGN article that we were going to bring up, you know, with Resident Evil 5 is like it's just like Capcom hasn't even said they're remaking Resident Evil 5.
Well, it's like it's
You know?
remember how we yeah, it's remember how we talked about two extreme sides of the spectrum. Like
Yeah.
this is one side of the spectrum, the Mark Kerndu or Grums trying to
Yeah.
join Black Girl Gamergate, and then we got the other side, this article saying remaking Resident Evil 5 is racist, and it's like, did you talk to? Did anyone talk to Black people within this within this time frame to see if we felt like Resident Evil 5 was racist?
Yeah.
Like I remember when it even came out, a lot of people were just like the people writing the articles were like white, and they're just making this
Oh,
assumption for
this
us that it was
guy this guy who wrote the
racist.
Resident Evil article is white. Matt
Yeah,
Purslow is his
and they
name.
just make the assumption that we think it's racist. And like I know tons of Resident Black people who play Resident Evil 5, and it's this is anecdotal, but it's like I know tons of people, Black people who play Resident Evil 5, including myself. I didn't like Resident Evil 5 because I didn't like the fucking mechanics of the game. But that because of the departure from like the way the series was becoming horror and then going to action. That's why I didn't like Resident Evil 5. Had nothing to do with the fact that you were shooting Black people. I mean, it's in fucking
Well,
Africa. I don't like
let's
what do
let's
you
get
expect?
into hold on. Let me set this let me set the stage a little bit for the article. So this guy Matt Purslow wrote an article on IGN, the Resident Evil game that can't be remade, and he said it's time to rewrite, not remake. And his, you know, he goes through and talks about this game, how it's, you know, the main character's a white dude and he's just mass murdering like Black people zombies basically throughout the whole game, and that we in this day we can't do it. He literally says like you cannot do this in the modern day. This can't be the way this shit is portrayed. And so the first thing I want to say about it though is like to your point, right? Did he talk to any Black people? Maybe he probably did.
Maybe he
Of
did. Yeah, maybe he did.
the thing is, it's just he talks to the ones around him in his bubble in IGN, probably, you know, who are of a similar mindset to him, because these people are all fucking incestuous, and can't hire anybody that disagrees with their little opinion that they have on the world. But is I'm but this is the problem. Like this is the weird thing in games, right? There is
Yeah.
this group of white people who think they are the authority on race relations and social issues and sexism, and like that they're the ones who decide that the way we should be as a society and with all this shit, what's right, what's wrong. That they literally say shit like you can't be racist to white people. It's just fucking insane. Like there was that one woman from I forget what developer, but she said that recently. That so it's like this group has this viewpoint that they try, it's like an agenda that they try to push in everything they do and it's like they're these people that they're talking about, like in this case Black people, like don't even agree with them, you know? It's like they're like being a white knight when they're not being asked to be one. Like, you know,
Yeah,
it's just they're
it's like
inserting themselves as an authority in something that they're not really capable of being an authority in, you know?
yeah, exactly. And that White Knight reference is really funny because like I so a long time ago I didn't understand like why wouldn't girls want guys to be nice and stand up for them, you know, even if they didn't ask. And then like I remember like years ago when
Yeah.
like the white liberal stuff started popping off and they started speaking out for us, and it was like thanks, but we didn't ask, but thanks, I should
Yeah.
be grateful. grateful or should I be grateful? And then it just got out of control, right? And this is how I think this is how like women feel when you kind of speak on behalf of them or some shit like that. It's like I didn't really ask you, and that's not really how I feel.
Right.
You just probably you're doing that because you probably read an article somewhere or something like that, and you're told that this is how I feel, and it's like that's not how we feel or whatever. Now like I said, it may be some black people who feel like the game is racist or whatever. But I mean, I don't. A lot of us don't fucking care. Like,
Well, yeah,
I
but
mean,
you
there are
get
gonna
into
be
this
memes
weird.
that come out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure somebody's gonna fucking mod a KKK robe over Chris if it does come out,
Oh my god.
and that should
You're
probably
right.
be fucking hilarious. But at the same
Jesus Christ.
time,
Why is that funny? Oh
see,
my
it's stupid. Racism can be stupid funny. It's just some shit
god.
is just so dumb that you gotta laugh at it. But
Yeah, no,
like,
for sure. Well, because dude, I think but this conversation gets into the idea, right? Is that game specifically like why does it take place in Africa, right? There's no
yeah,
real like as far as I've understood it, there's not like a real necessary reason for it to take. But then on the other side of that coin is like, okay, is there anything wrong with it taking place in Africa? Like it's like,
it's
can we not make games in Africa then? Like, are we just supposed to avoid that as a setting for games? It's just
Exactly, because I believe the reason the game takes place is because Chris tracked Whisker in the virus there because he was
yeah,
experimenting on people in a small remote part of Africa with the virus, and he knew a lot about the virus. Chris did knew about a lot about the virus, so he went to investigate on why it was going on, and that's why it takes place in Africa. And it's
right,
like why like you said, why can't it take place in Africa? Like we rarely have games that take place in Africa. We have
right,
games take place in
for
all
sure,
parts of Asia and all parts of Europe and all parts of America, but like now Africa's off limits because what black people is Africa. Like I
right.
don't I don't
Or like if you have your game take place in Africa, the protagonist has to be black, like has to be, or it's a racist game. It's like,
and then his side character, his sidekick
yeah,
is
right,
black. So it's like
yep,
I don't know. It's just I mean that you can have an argument with that too, but it's just like maybe they reverse the roles. Maybe she becomes the main character and then he's the side character. You know what I'm saying? Like
sure,
they can remake
they
the
could do
entire
that.
game like that. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah, but do they want to bother? Like, is Resident Evil
I
5
don't
even
even.
even worth it?
A lot of people started off playing Resident Evil 5. It did sell a lot. I think it sold like 300, not 100,
Oh,
but
it sold
million.
more. I'm pretty sure it sold more than 4 did.
Yeah,
At the
it sold a lot of
time.
copies. Yeah,
Yeah.
it sold a lot of copies. So I'm
Um.
pretty sure they're going to remake it. The problem is like now you have this controversy, and it's like, do you really want to deal with the consequences of that? And I think it's generated like fake outrage.
Yeah.
I just don't think a lot of people are looking at it like, you know, oh, I'm mowing down black people. I think once you make it about that, then people will take it as that, and then people will make reactionary content out of that shit. But I don't think anyone was thinking that until somebody said it. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of those things where it's like no one
Yeah.
was really thinking about it. Yeah,
I would avoid this game if I were Capcom. I would do every other game I could until this one because let this whole conversation cool off. Like, hopefully it's not in development already, but it's like because dude, they're not going to be able to win either way. If they rewrite the game, they're going to piss people off. If they don't rewrite the game, they're going to piss people off. Like it doesn't matter what they do.
yeah.
They can't win in this situation. So
Yeah, I mean, they can go with their original vision. The original vision of the game was he's supposed to be in the sub-Sahara part of Africa, and like he was supposed to be. Not only was he supposed to, fight zombies or parasitic people and everything, but he's supposed to be fighting hallucinations. They took all that out because they didn't have the hardware at the time to do
mhm.
that type of stuff. But I think that would be fucking cool. Like you're also fighting hallucinations and trying to drink water and stuff to stay alive and shit like that. I think that shit would just be fucking dope as fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, maybe they should just avoid it for right now. But like you said, it's one of those things where they can't win either way. Um, I remember when it came out, it was a very controversial topic at the time. This came out right at the beginning or the middle of Gamergate and shit like that. Um, I don't know. It's kind of funny how we're just going with Gamergate 2.0, and I just don't feel like dealing with this shit again, man. Like I don't know. Even when we're dealing with the movies, like everyone's upset about
Dune.
Star Wars Acolyte, because I guess the first
Yeah.
the Sith that came back was a woman.
Yeah.
Um, and the people are pissed off about that, and I'm just like, bro,
Well,
we don't
Dune, the people are saying there's not enough diversity in Dune. Too.
what?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
okay, I haven't seen that. Like,
It was specifically Asians and fuck, I forget the other one. But yeah, it was so like it's just
okay,
it doesn't matter what you do, dude. You're gonna get picked apart. Like because then if you hit all the major if you like achieve the diversity quota, well then other people are gonna be like, well, you're just checking a checklist, you know, you're just hitting your check boxes. You got your Asian guy, you got your black guy, you got your black woman, you know, it's like so it doesn't matter what you do, man. I just like I hate that this is a conversation. That's what I mean. I like we aren't I just want to talk about games. Like, what are
we
good
can't,
games?
man. We
You
can't
know?
talk about
It's
games
just
without.
it's so frustrating. It's so fucking frustrating that this is IGN doing this shit, man. You know? Fucking IGN. I used to go to IGN every day. Like legitimately back in the aughts. Like I would go to this website every day and look at their headlines, you know? And it's
Yeah,
like and that faded away in like the early 2010s. I stopped doing that, but that and it wasn't because of this stuff, but it's like the quality of the site went down over time, and it's to the point that where we are now where it's like this is the kind of shit that they're publishing on there. It's like I don't know, man. Like if I was the lead editor of this, I would be like I would go tell like I don't know, this probably wouldn't be realistic, but I would be like look, instead of pitching me an article like this, why don't you actually go find some real news so we can actually like break some fucking news, you know, like an actual journalist site would do, you know. um you know when you have YouTubers, which we'll get into this later, when you have YouTubers being the ones who leak fucking PS5 Pro specs, you know, um these journalist outlets aren't doing their job anymore, you know, to me. So it's just I don't know.
yeah,
Do you
no,
have anything
it's
else you want to say on this?
no. I mean, I just like you said, I just really want to talk about video games. One of my friends, she posted something too that really resonated with me, and I think this is why me and you click so much, um, as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, the reason why she really doesn't go out looking for, she loves video games and everything like that. She talks about them on Twitter, but she doesn't go out looking for groups because people are so fucking weird in the space. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, that's 100% true. Like obviously my group of friends, I talked to them about video games. We all went to college and grew up around each other, but it was so hard to find someone outside of my group of friends that I can just talk to about video games and then not be weird. And then that's when I met you, and I was like, holy shit, there's
Yeah.
another one of us
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I don't know. I mean that's I think that's why a lot of more people, a lot of you don't see a lot of normal people
Mm-hmm.
in those spaces. I put quotation air quotations on normal, but like people who just don't really get upset about stuff. And then when you do go to these groups, it's always the most extreme version of everybody because like the normal people like us, we go to the groups like, you know, looking for companionship and they're like, uh, never mind. This is
Yeah.
not really what I
Right.
wanted,
It's not
you
what you're
know?
looking for. Well, like,
Yeah.
dude, even our personal friend group that we play with on Discord, right? It's like I've kind of pulled back recently, and like I haven't been on Discord in a fucking while. Like it's been probably over a month
Mhm.
because I just it's like it got dramatic almost. Like we were like you know like what we were playing, what we weren't playing. Oh, you're not playing with me. It's like I just I don't know. I just want to play games. You know, it's like so that's what I've been doing. You know, it's like I've been playing on my own for the most part.
Yeah,
Um.
I haven't abandoned the Discord. I mean, obviously because I've been in school, but I've also been playing like a lot of single player games, and um, I do feel bad because I want to play. I be wanting to play Helldivers, but I also just want to play my single player games and make progression in that as well. So it's like, do I play Helldivers for 4 hours, or do I play, do I study for 4 hours or 2 hours, and then play Helldivers for 1 hour, then
Mhm.
play one of my single player games for an hour or whatever the case may be. And I just chose like I I just chose. I even like dropped League. I was going to get back into League, but I dropped it again. And it's like I just want to play my
Well,
single
it's like a
player
waste of
games.
time, you know.
Yeah.
Like I have 5 games right now in my backlog from the last 2 months that I want to play, and I'm in Unicorn Overlord now, and I'm like, it's like I'm working my way through that. But then I have Dragon's Dogma 2, Rise of the Ronin, fucking Secrets of Grindia that came out last month,
Hmm.
Last Epoch that came out last month. And I've also been toying around with the idea of going through all the Final Fantasy games because, I was talking about a couple of weeks ago which ones I've beaten and which ones I haven't. And the
Yeah.
older ones I haven't never beaten really. I've gotten through a couple of them, somewhat deep, but I've never really beaten most of them. And I kind of want to do that. So that's a 5th game. Well, technically, that's 6 more games in the backlog that I would have to play, like through the Pixel remasters on PS5. But I'm actually really considering doing it, because I'm really in a Final Fantasy mood right now. Like I'm very, like, after playing Rebirth and all the conversation the last couple months around Final Fantasy. Like I'm just I kind of want to go back and like play those classics, and see what they're all about. Plus, it's like, in terms of, I do consider my history, like what games I played and what I haven't, important for like my foundation of my knowledge within the game space and what in games and what they do and how they are, the experiences and the way they're designed and all that. And it's just like, there is kind of like a you have to play the old Final Fantasy games if you're going to be like talking about games like this, I feel like. So I kind of just want to do it. So it's like I've got like 10 games on my docket that I want to play, and it's like if I go play League, like I'm not doing that. As much as I love League and I enjoy League and I will play occasionally, like if you guys made the call in the group chat, I would jump on probably. But yeah, I don't want to do it every night. It's like it's going to be occasional probably for
Yeah.
the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. I feel like we've been doing this for 3 years straight. Actually, like it's
We
crazy.
really have, actually.
Yeah,
Like, dude, it was since we all played Final Fantasy, I think.
yeah.
Like, and we got into Apex. It was because we got into Apex, and then I think it was that summer we were playing Final Fantasy, and we went so hard for that period of time, and then it continued after that. Like,
Yeah.
after we were done with Final Fantasy, we just started playing Apex every single day, dude. And that's why I got sick of the game, I think, is that. And I think my PlayStation recap from last year was really like eye-opening. Was like, I'm still doing this, where I'm like getting on Discord basically every night.
Yeah, my PlayStation
Um
recap too was crazy. It said I spent like 400 hours in Apex or something. I was like, yikes! All right, I gotta stop playing this game.
yeah,
so
right.
so
And if it
yeah,
wasn't Apex, it was League, it was something.
yeah, yeah,
It was something. It was World of Warcraft. It was whatever the fuck we were playing. So that's kind of why I'm not getting into Helldivers 2, because I'm just kind of like, guys, I'm having fun over here. Like I'm
yeah.
kind of enjoying. Like I'm gaming more right now, even though I've gamed a lot. I put a lot of hours in every year. I have. I feel like I've played more though in the last couple months than I have in the last few years. Um,
Well, it's funny. I mean, I'll get to it when we're talking about games we're playing, but like, I literally dropped a game and then started playing another game.
was
Oh
that
my god!
Silas?
No, this is fucking Delhi.
Was it
Uh,
Delhi? Hi,
yeah.
Delhi. That's so cute.
Yeah, I dropped the game and then started picking up another game. I didn't feel bad about it. Like I haven't really been on like social media, like listen to the talks about the game
Hmm.
or whatever. Um, and now for I actually, I did see stuff about Rise of the Ronin, but that was more so like articles, more not people tweeting. But people tweeting about Rise of the Ronin were more positive than like the articles and YouTube videos I get fed every day on my algorithms and stuff like that. So, um, I don't know. I've been liking the single player grind. I mean, sometimes I've been wanting to play multiplayer games, but then like one day I tried to load up League and I was just like, no, I don't feel like doing it. Like I got into champ select, and then we started doing champ select and everything, and then someone died, and I was like, you know what? That's a sign. I turned it off.
Even though there's like a 50% chance of that every game.
Yeah,
Basically.
exactly. So I don't know. It's just interesting, but yeah.
All right. Well, we've dilly dallied enough. Let's get into the show here proper. So, hi everybody. Welcome to the Player's Take. This is episode 265. I'm your host Justin DeSimone, joined as always by my co-host Montrell Rice. Montrell, we've already talked a little bit here, but I'm I'm feeling good. I'm gaming. I'm gaming a lot. I got through Rebirth. I'm playing Unicorn Overlord. I'm working through that. You know, like I said, I got other games on the docket here, but we're trying to get through 'em, man. I want to get through. I want to get to the summer where like I'm free. You know, I get through like all of these, and I'm kind of hoping I can get through most of these games by like June, mid June ish, maybe. That gives me about 3 months. So I'm trying to get through what I can here, but yeah. So outside of the gaming and stuff, how's life though?
Work has been kicking my ass, but that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm hoping it get better, but yeah, it's just been kicking my ass, man. It's been really busy, so
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that.
Well, yeah, me too. I mean, like I said before, I have a new team. I'm like, dude, I had to like, you know, the guy who was let go had a credit card, and a bunch of our software was being paid for through his credit card. So I had to go through his expense report today and find receipts for all of his all the transactions on his credit card. It was about 17 or 18 of them, and like, oh my god, I don't know if you've ever done an expense report before and like
I
concur,
have,
or
yeah,
oh
I
my,
have,
yeah,
man.
and yeah, so you know the bullshit there. And
Yeah.
dude, it took me, between yesterday and today, it probably took me about 6 hours all told to get it
Wow.
done. Yeah, because I didn't know what first of all, I didn't know what I was looking for. Like I didn't know what these expenses were. First of all, second of all, I had to then go find all the receipts that were either in his email, in my email, in the time since he was let go, and then I had to go to my team and ask them if they had any of them. You know, so there was a lot of like sifting through and investigating and trying to find that stuff, and it's just like, dude, it's so yeah, there's that. I'm in my personal life too. I'm trying to like get more shit done around the house too. I've been kind of like letting that go the last few months, so trying to pick that back up again, and got a few projects going here in the house. So I'm very busy right now. Like there's a lot going on. I have a ton of shit coming up this weekend actually. Um, so it's like I just feel really busy. So that's another reason I'm not getting on as much either, because I'm kind of tired at the end of the day. I just kind of want to chill and, you know, game and go to bed. You know. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat. But all right, well, let's get into the show proper then. For those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube Music, and your favorite podcast app of choice. You can send us questions on Twitter at the Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com, and we will certainly answer it on the show. All right, Montrell. Well, let's get into our first segment as usual. What we've been playing. Do you want to go first? It sounds like you've been playing one game and you let Rebirth go. Is what it
Yeah.
sounds like.
So I did let Rebirth go. I don't know, blasphemy, y'all. It just wasn't holding my attention. And I know like you and DJ both said like once I pass that chapter, it gets a lot better. I just didn't have the willpower to do it. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. Um,
Sometimes you're just not feeling it, man. You just gotta
yeah,
let it go. You'll
I'm
come
just
back, and I'm sure it'll pick up for you.
yeah. I think I'm just gonna come back to it. Or
You
whatever the
don't need to
case may
replay
be.
the beginning either. It's so boring. Like nothing happens.
Yeah,
Like
nothing really happens. So I
yeah,
kind of remember everything, and everything of that nature. So I just dropped it for right now, and I think with the what the problem was is I was looking for an action game. I wasn't in the Final Fantasy headspace.
it's not
I
what it
thought I
is.
was,
Yeah.
and when Rise of the Ronin came out, man, I just
Mm-hmm.
I just jumped headlong into it, and the game actually has like a learning curve to it. I actually hated the game at the beginning. Like, let me take you on my journey with this game.
Okay.
Uh, this game is weird. So I'll get all the negatives out the way first. Yes, it does have an Ubisoft style of map. Uh, Same way Final Fantasy Rebirth has, and everything of that nature. Uh, the difference is there really isn't a tower. You can go to a save point and it unlocks more points. But then you do certain activities, and then that unlocks more activities within a certain area. So you have these little provinces throughout of the part of Japan that you're in, and you do certain activities. Like it's just like, oh, take a picture here or find a cat here. There's like a thing where you got to find cats for a lady, or that for a
Of
geisha.
course.
Uh,
Yeah.
and you find them and you pet them, and then the cats run back to her or whatever. And then you can use said cats as a concierge service for other people who are lonely, and you get like bonuses for that and everything like that. Uh, uh, and then they have the also like uh, the enemy camps, just like Ghost of Tsushima. They had the enemy camps that you can
Hmm.
you can go head first and fight everybody, or you can do stealth or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And then they also have like the not Ronins, but like you know how you had Ronins in Ghost of
Ghost of
Tsushima.
Tsushima. Yeah.
Well, you have people who are just like wanted or whatever the case, fugitives, and you can do one-on-one fights with them and stuff like that or whatever. But it's not as
Okay.
dramatic as it is in obviously in Ghost
The
of Tsushima or
duels.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the duels.
Yeah.
But they are like named characters and they have their name on top of the thing and everything like that. Uh, it's because I left my door open. That's why the cat's coming in. But um, so that is the negatives, right? I can see why people are comparing it to Ghost of Tsushima or whatever. Like to me, those are the two things that you can compare it to, right? Oh, and also the story is not the best. I mean, that's kind of like in every
Right.
Team Ninja game, right? The story isn't the best. The story is you're in between the period to when Japan is first meeting the outside world, or like Britain's coming to try to colonize Japan, and then
Mm.
America's also trying to colonize Japan
Yep.
and everything like that. So you're in a very interesting time period. I think it's very interesting seeing how there were certain people in Japan who were like, we need to talk to the Westerners so that we don't fall behind. And then there are other people in Japan who are like, we need to get them off our island because they're ruining our way of life. Like they're ruining what makes Japan Japan, or whatever
Yeah.
the case may be. So I think it's actually a very interesting time period to play in. Um, you have besides that, uh, you do have like relationships, or not relationships, but you can form like bonds with certain characters and stuff like that, and they do give you bonuses, so they are worth doing, but they aren't worth doing because like the voice acting is kind of like it's like a Japanese person. The English dub, at least, is like a Japanese person trying to speak English. That's what it is. And
Mm.
I think they did that on purpose, which makes sense, I guess. But if you're doing Japanese, I think everybody speaks Japanese. There are Americans and then there are British people and everything of that nature. Um, and yeah, I'm automatically siding with Japan on my playthrough because this period of America they have slaves, so fuck that part of America. So I'm not I'm not
Yeah.
really trying to help them. There are missions sometimes where you have to help them, the Americans, but besides, anytime I get a chance to kill them, I kill them. That's funny because I'm American, but
Hmm.
um, yeah. So besides that, that's the negatives of the game. Now the positive of the game is uh, there are tons of fighting styles,
Mm.
weapons too. I think there's like 10 or 15 different weapons.
Do
No
they have a
lie,
fetish? Do they have a fetish?
I
I
think
feel like
so,
Team
man.
Ninja has a fetish, dude, with this. Like they want they want to outdo Monster Hunter with the weapons, dude. Like I don't understand it. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
and each weapon now has like 3 to 10 fighting styles.
What?
Yeah,
What the
yeah.
fuck? What the
And then
fuck?
you can swap between the weapon, two weapons. You can
Yeah.
hold two weapons at a time, and then you
Okay.
can swap also between the fighting styles while doing your combos.
Yeah.
Uh, so the only thing that's different between like Neo, and I'll say Wulong in this game is this game's primary focus is not your on here they call it I think it's called key rebuffering or something like that, where you
Mm.
can how you can rebuffer your key.
Yeah.
Um, so in this game, the way you do it is it's the same concept. You do it at the end of a combo or at the end of a attack. You know do the key regain, and then you get your key back. But they call it throwing blood off your weapon or whatever, because there really isn't any mystical arts in this game. Um, it's all like firearms or weapons. And there are some mystical like moves you can do. Like obviously you can make a ninjutsu of yourself and throw shurikens and stuff like that, which I think is really cool. Um, but everything else is just pure like combat is focused is as far as that. So there really isn't any magic per se, but you do have items you can make to throw fire bombs and You can incorporate. They do have styles with the older musket type guns, where you can do combos and then like shoot with the musket or whatever. It's actually pretty cool
Mm.
how they got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And they have like the American style fighting of sword fighting. They got the British style
What the
fighting of sword fighting. They have fencing. They have the
Okay.
French style. They have a
What?
sword and shield. Yeah, they have like crazy shit, man. And then you
Wow,
got
that's bonkers, dude. A shield, did you say?
yeah, sword. They have a sword and shield.
What?
Yeah, and it's actually
Okay.
pretty cool. It's like you could throw your shield at somebody like Captain America and catch it and shit. It's dope, man. It's dope. Uh, I
Okay.
don't know. So but the reason why the open world works so much better for me in this game than Final Fantasy is because it's directly tied to like unlocking shit for more combat capabilities and stuff like that. Whether it be better weapons, whether it be unlocking you do some little the side stuff and then you unlock a named enemy that has a certain fighting style that you can learn from him once you defeat him or
Mm,
whatever, or your bonds as well with certain characters. They unlock certain fighting styles or whatever, and you also have to be careful of which path you go down as far as like being for the shogunate or anti-shogunate, because the shogunate is they're collaborating with all the westerners, and then
mm,
anti-shogunates are people who are not trying to be who are trying to keep the way of old Japan or
okay.
whatever. So I actually did some pro shogunate missions. And I actually did it by mistake because this one guy I liked, he's a Japanese guy. He was like, "Oh, I'm trying to get over to the Americas because I want to learn about Western culture and bring it back to Japan and help Japan as a whole." And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. So I was helping him, and then I met like a ninja who gave me like the ninjutsu Hayabusa style, and I would never would have did that if I didn't go down that pro shogunate route or whatever. But then you can switch flop or flip flop rather back and forth. You're not tied to one style or tied to one person or shogunate or whatever or side or whatever. They
Yeah.
have a little bar, like a little bond bar, to show you like who you're siding with more or whatever. But it. In my opinion, so far, I think I'm only in the first or second act. I'm not too sure. It really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. The game is like I'm 22 hours in, and I feel like I'm nowhere near the end of the game, to be
Wow.
honest with you.
Okay.
So I feel like the game is kind of long in that regards. I was also watching other people um play the game. And they have unlocked moves I haven't even gotten close to unlocking yet. And there's stuff I haven't even unlocked yet, like main stuff I haven't even unlocked yet. And I'm 22 hours into the game. Um, so uh, so this game, as far as like comboing, I don't know if how you remember like Neo's comboing was, or even Wulong's
Yeah.
comboing, like they really focused on the key regain, and like you can extend your combos that way and everything, and the characters get staggered, the enemy characters get staggered more. And you do have like a little counter or whatever, but it wasn't like the biggest thing in this game. They did make the parry more the focus of the game, so that did take away from the comboing a little bit, because I'm playing it on. You get three modes. I don't know what the first mode is called, but it's called the second mode is Dusk, which is pretty much normal, and then you got Twilight, and then there's going to be a fourth mode that you unlock. I think once you beat the game, called Midnight, and those are the difficulties. Which is another thing. I don't think the previous games had difficulties, so this game does have difficulties. Uh, and the parry windows, I believe the parry window kind of um matters within the tighter the higher the difficulty, the tighter the parry window is, in my opinion. um so that being said, it was a bit of a learning curve. Like, I started out playing Twilight maybe 5 to 10 hours into the game, and because I was so low leveled, and I don't think it's balanced enough. I think what they intended for you to do, because I read the trophy list, and I try not to give myself spoilers, but I read
Mhm.
the trophy list, and there isn't really a difficulty one. There's one where you have to play one mission in uh in Midnight, and I'll get to the missions later. So you have to play one mission in Midnight or whatever. So um yeah, that's a thing or whatever. And but besides that, there really isn't one for like playing the whole thing. So I did go down to Dusk because it was just like it was tough. I was getting through it, but I was also getting super frustrated. And then once I got a little bit more stronger, I upped it to Twilight again, and now like it feels more manageable and I'm able to do things. So I think that's how they designed it, in my opinion. That's at least what I did, or whatever the case may be. Um, so this game's very interesting because there's a character creator, and
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know your main character can be created. Um, I thought there was just one set character, and a
Mm,
lot of people didn't know that apparently.
yeah.
Uh, so they do have a character creator.
How do you get to it then if it doesn't pop up at the beginning of the game?
Um, it's interesting because it does pop up at the beginning of the game.
Oh, but is it like a button you have to press to like get into it or something?
No, it just pops up randomly. Like I was going through the story, the first couple of minutes of the story, and then it pops up the character creator, and I
Okay.
was like, "What?" And that's your main character.
Oh, I see. So you were like playing the game already with a character, and then the game
Yeah,
was like create your character. What do you
yeah,
mean create my character?
exactly. Yeah.
I've been playing with the character for a couple hours. Okay,
Well, it wasn't even a couple hours. It was like maybe the first 20 minutes of
30
the game.
minutes or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
30 minutes
Okay.
of the game. Yeah,
Gotcha.
so they
That's
do this.
interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting as well. They because none of the promotional material showed that shit at all. They also didn't like this game has missions in it, which you can do with multiplayer. So I can invite somebody to do a mission
Huh.
with me. The
Okay.
open world, I believe, is still just me, but
Okay.
so I can
So it's
do.
not like full co-op. It's just
Yeah, it's not full
certain
co-op.
specific missions you
Yeah,
can do.
certain missions you can do co-op
Oh,
or
that
whatever.
sucks. That kind of sucks actually.
Yeah,
Because yeah, Neo 2 was full co-op, and
full co-op. Yeah, so is
Neo
Wulong.
1. Yeah.
But yeah, they did that. Also, so there are other multiplayer components where you have to infiltrate bases and stuff like that. Just throughout the open world. Like you remember, I told you like the little bases that Ghost of Tsushima have or whatever the case may be. Uh, if a character in another world dies there, their character will be captured in your world, and
Yeah.
you can rescue them, and then they'll be it's an NPC, but it will still have your name. So say like if you died in a base, it'll show your NPC chained up or whatever,
Mm.
Thundernut.
Mhm.
And then I can free it, and then Thundernut will help me
I don't know
fight.
if I don't know if I'd call my character Thunder Nut in this Japanese open world game, but
uh,
sure. Yeah.
but I think it's just your your character or
Yeah,
not
yeah, your PSN name.
your
Yeah,
PSN
right.
name, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So also so there's another feature too where you get these little dogs that
Yeah.
can roam around Japan like delivering stuff and everything like that. And I forgot the lore reason why they do it, but you'll see other people's dogs walking around. And you can walk up to them and give them and pet them, and they'll give you a little bonus, like a bonus behind. It won't show anything, but it gives you a bonus behind the scenes or whatever, for petting their dog while they're walking or whatever the case may be. So I think that's really cool as well. So those are the little multiplayer components. But yeah, the highlight of this game is definitely like the combat. It's super addicting. Um, I don't know how they managed to make the combat so addicting and just wanting to learn more, and you keep doing stuff hoping you'll learn and or unlock more parts of the combat because the combat is locked certain parts of moves and everything, like they're level ones of certain styles and everything of that,
Mm.
of all the styles actually all have levels that you can unlock and get better. And sometimes you have to just progress to the story, or you have to do a bond level, or you have to fight a certain enemy, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just make you want to do that because the combat is so fun. Like, especially once you start getting some like the more crazier moves and everything of that nature, it's just super fun. Even the bigger weapons are fun and flashy. And I don't know, man. The game's just sucked me in. I get frustrated sometimes with it because like the game is kind of tough at points. The parry window is not as tight as Sekiro's is, but I mean I powered through it or whatever. I'll put it on the scale of like almost like Jedi Outcast or Jedi Fallen Order rather.
Mm. Mhm.
As far as like how the parry window works and everything. Um, but I think it's still like super fun.
Yeah.
I think people are doing this game a huge. Oh, and the traversal is really fun, and I think the stealth mechanics are no laughing matter as well. I think they're really cool. I think they're not as good as like Ghost of Tsushima or Assassin's Creed, but they're doable. They're workable. You can clear a whole base and still have fun doing the stealth mechanics or whatever. Like I took out a group of 5 people in like one with like 5 strokes of my fucking triangle button or whatever, and it was pretty dope. But it was like I think the game is really cool. I think the game is misunderstood by a lot of people in games media.
What a
Uh,
surprise.
yeah. I think a lot of people said the combat didn't have any depth. I did see that a lot from a lot of people.
Hmm.
They're like, I don't know how to feel about this game, and it's like, what do you mean the combat has no
Did they
depth?
play like
Like
2 hours and
they
give
probably
up?
played like 2 hours, bro.
Yeah.
I and I can understand why because the game does not pull any punches. Yes, all Team Ninja games. To be honest with you, they don't pull any fucking punches. Um,
But this game has an easy mode though.
it does, and which is why I am assuming maybe they played it. I played it on Dusk for literally like 2 hours, and I'm like, nah, I gotta go back to Twilight. This don't feel right. And I went back to Twilight. I was like, yeah, this is it right here for me. Like this
Yeah.
is what I needed. I don't know, Justin. I don't know. I don't. I just think people don't understand that Team Ninja games in general. I don't know what they want from it.
It's weird because Neo and Neo 2 are pretty universally acclaimed, you know?
I think people were expecting a Ghost of Tsushima style
Yeah.
game, and they didn't get
Yeah.
that. You
Well,
know,
there's more depth to the combat than Ghost of Tsushima.
yes, 100.
I mean,
percent
it's inherent to like team. I mean, this Team Ninja's thing. Like, I contend that they're one of the best action game developers out there. You know, they're up there with like, if you'd put FromSoft in there, they're in that echelon to me. And then like,
Yeah,
like maybe the DMC team, you probably would say,
yeah,
and some of the other better, like maybe Platinum at their peak,
yeah,
like teams like they're in that echelon to me of like action game developers. That's why like when you were you're sending videos, man, I'm just like I'm I'm like, man, if only Rebirth, like what if only Rebirth could play like that, man, because it's just I'll get into Rebirth in a bit, but it's just like a proper action game is actually kind of hard to come by. I feel like
yeah.
because I think people would say Ghost of Tsushima is like is a proper action game, but dude, no, it's like Assassin's Creed kind of level action game. It's not that game is not that deep. With it,
It's a
it's got
Western action game like
yeah,
God of
it
War.
has depth, but it's
Yeah, like
um
I would say like the older God of War, like
yeah,
God of War 1 through 3, those are really in-depth action games
yes.
compared to like the newer God of War games, in my
Yeah.
opinion. That's just me though.
David Jaffe knew what he was doing with those games.
Yeah, he's a fucking maniac.
Yeah, I know. I love him though. He's so fucking funny, dude. But no, like he those 3 games, God of Wars 1, 2, and 3, I look back on really fondly because they kind of got me into action games, in a way that I wasn't, and I love that genre now because of that game. Even though they're not direct corollaries to Neo and Souls games and like even DMC and stuff like that, but they are proper action games though.
Well, what's funny is they I believe they did make God of War to kind of counter DMC.
Yeah,
In my opinion, if DMC hadn't come out, there wouldn't have been a God of War. In my opinion,
yeah,
I know that's kind of a controversial take, but I think DMC opened the floodgates for those type of action games, and they saw that people wanted those type of action games or whatever, and and that's why we have them. The problem I have is I don't think people understand action games. People play them like one time or whatever. And I think God of War is actual, especially God of War 3. This is a really good example of that. It's not designed to play one time. It's designed to do multiple playthroughs of it.
yeah.
Uh and you understand the entire thing. Some people play, Bayonetta once and then they just play, oh, well, I play Bayonetta. I think the good thing about Near Automata is they solved that issue by having you play with 3 different characters and you have like some
Mm,
kind of level up mechanic with it as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So they kind of solved that issue where you don't have to do multiple playthroughs with it. um, which is interesting. And I think Rise of the Ronin, Neo, and Wulong, they kind of saw that issue as well, to where you don't have to do multiple playthroughs of the same game. You can actually just level up your character and then keep leveling up, and then you unlock the ultimate form of your character.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate action RPG, because these are RPG. Even Rise of the Ronin, in my opinion, is still an RPG. In its core,
Yeah.
you can hide the damage numbers. I hide the damage numbers, but there are some people who play with the damage numbers on, like it's old Neo or Wulong or whatever the case may be. Um, yeah, so there are ways to do a proper action RPG. Unfortunately, which I'm pretty sure you're going to get into, uh, I feel like Resident Evil. I'm sorry, not Resident Evil. Final Fantasy, rather. Final Fantasy VII. Uh, it had a lot of stuff in it that I liked. I love the flashiness of it. I love that I can chain combos. I'm actually can be a little bit expressive with my combos with almost all the characters. To be honest with you, they did a really good job with their animations and everything of that
Yeah.
nature, and their combo strings, and the mechanics of the character. I feel like they did a fucking fantastic job with it. But then there are little stuff that we were talking about. You know, uh, like
Hit
reading a
boxes,
hit
attack
boxes,
indicators,
attack
just
indicators,
readability of the screen.
readability,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of that was missed, in my opinion. Kingdom Hearts does a way better job. Even
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts 3 does a way
100%.
better
Oh no,
job
dude,
at
no, yeah, trust me. I hate Kingdom Hearts 3, but I'm not gonna say it has worse combat than even the original version of Kingdom Hearts 3. Definitely does not have worse combat than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not that crazy,
I
but
saw a post too. They were like, which one has better combat? And to my surprise, it was between Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and 16. A lot of people said 16, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I
respect. Good. I'm glad there are people that people can recognize it at least. Because I don't know. Do you have more you want to say on Rise of the
No,
Ronin? I
you,
don't
you
want to
can
cut
go
you
ahead.
off.
You can go ahead.
Okay,
You can go
so
ahead.
we'll
Yep.
just transition this straight into Rebirth. So I did beat Rebirth this week, a couple days ago actually. And yeah, I think
So before you get on the combat, how was the story? Was the story good?
okay, so I'll start there. Yeah, that's a good place to start. So I'm not gonna spoil anything.
Yeah.
Montreal hasn't played the game, so I don't want to spoil anything on the show. Well, obviously, I don't want to spoil anything for people, anyways. But I'm gonna be honest. I like the game a lot. Like, if I was gonna score it, I'd probably give it an 8.5. So I'm gonna like start there, right? So I
Okay.
really like the game. I think it's a great game. However, there's just a lot of things that like nibble away at that score as you play, over time. And the biggest one being that the game is too big. Like,
Mm,
I was
okay.
gonna I was gonna full complete this game and do everything this game had to offer in preparation for doing a hard mode playthrough sometime in the future, and I just couldn't do it. When I got to the end of the game, I broke on. I think it was Monday. I beat the game. I just said nope. You know what? I'm on the final chapter. I'm heading to the final dungeon, final boss. I'm this is it. I'm done with this game once I beat this. And I was totally right. The end of the game, to be frank, is obnoxious. Like, really obnoxious. Like, the final two chapters together, if you are just going straight through them and you don't take a break, it's probably 8 hours.
Mhm.
From the beginning of chapter 13 to the end of chapter 14. It might even be 10 hours. I don't have an exact like clock of it, but it felt really long. The dungeon in final chapter 13 is fucking insane, like how long it is. And some people I'm sure love that. And obviously, dude, I remember Xenoblade Chronicles 3 had a similarly long final dungeon, and I remember criticizing the game for that because
Yeah, I
it's
can't
just not
remember that dungeon.
necessary.
Yeah.
Like, it's the end of the game. Like, let me finish the fucking game. It's like, I don't know why I need this like 6 hour fucking dungeon at the end of the
Well,
game.
one did have that mini boss gauntlet that you had to go through. You fought like 3 bosses in a row in one.
Yeah. Oh
In
yeah,
Xenoblade
no,
Chronicles 1.
definitely,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So I just like so that was kind of that was the thing that was annoying me with it because, dude, I think I played all day Sunday and I got from the middle of chapter 10 to the end of the game from the beginning of Sunday. And I mean, I woke up around 10 a.m.
Mhm.
on Sunday, and started playing at that point, and I played all the way through maybe midnight, I think. So I mean,
Wow.
that's like 14 hours or something like that. And then I didn't beat the game on Sunday though. I beat it Monday, and it took me 3 hours on Monday to beat the game. So yeah, it was like fuck. Like, I mean, obviously there were a couple breaks in there. So let's just say, let's put it at like 14 to 15 hours. It probably took me from middle of chapter 10 to the end of the game. And
Okay.
I didn't do anything else really. Like I stopped doing side content at that point. I was just kind of racing to the finish. That's how long it is, dude. Like, even if you're mainlining it, like golden pathing it,
Damn.
it's such a long game.
Even you love to do side content in games, and yeah.
Yeah, but I get fatigued, and like this game, we were talking about, me and DJ kept going back and forth about the mini games, like how good the mini games are in this game, and they
Yeah.
are all really good. They're pretty much like there's almost none in here that are bad. Like, there are some that are annoying, like the fucking the workout mini game from Remake that they had. They brought
Yeah.
that back as crunches this time, and then I did the intro one to it, and I was like, no, I can't do this. I have PTSD from that. I remember my wife and I for hours were trying to beat that mini game and Remake together. Like, it was horrifying. So I couldn't. I ran as fast as I could out of that fucking gym in Rebirth. But yeah, it's like, dude, there's so many mini games, and there are points in the game where they just throw like 7 of them at you back to back to back to back to back to back, and you like have to do them all. It's like and it's just like, it just breaks the flow of the story up so much. And some of the mini games are insanely deep. Like, dude, they have chocobo racing in the game, and it's like Mario Kart. Like, there are different cups, and there are like multiple races in each cup, and there's probably 12 or 13 races total you have to do for it. And I don't know if it gets even deeper, like crazier than that. Obviously Queen's Blood is nuts. Like, there's like 150 cards in Queen's Blood. That's super like, it's just, there's so much of the mini games, and they just, like, specifically in chapters 6 through 8, probably, they throw so many mini games at you, and it just elongates that section of the game. And I was still like enjoying myself at that point, like to a really strong degree, so I was okay with it. But then when they like keep throwing them at you as you like keep playing the game, it's like there's more later. It's just like, God, like, why does this have to be a mini game? Like, so it's just, the game, they just like got out of control with the scope, I feel like. And I don't know, for some people they love it. I've heard tons of people who are like, man, I put 100 hours in this game and I wanted more. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no, this is too long. I don't need this. Like just like, dude, Remake was 30 hours or 40 hours if you were like pushing it really. Like, it's just like, that was perfect, and obviously we weren't going to get that with the bigger open
Yeah.
world part of this version of this game, but it could have been like 60 or something. It just, like, it felt like this game was really, really long. So story wise, the ending and everything. So the ending is really controversial in this game, and I'm not going to talk about details. All I'm going to say is, in terms of, in my opinion, where I'm sitting on it right now after marinating on it for a few days, I don't think I like it that much, what they decided to do, frankly. And I'm going to use the word obnoxious again. And I'm not talking
Okay.
about I'm not talking about content this time. I'm talking about the way the ending plays out is obnoxious.
Is it
The
is
final
it
boss, is ridiculous. Like, it's
is
there's
it
like
ridiculous, like the
7.
fight, or is like
Yes.
okay.
No, both. Yeah, yes. The fight itself, there's like 7 fucking phases to it. And then there's I can't really say it too much without spoiling it, but
Yeah.
there's like I don't really want to say more. It's just
Okay.
obnoxious. You'll
Okay.
understand when you
Okay.
play it. You'll understand what I mean when you play it. I'll be interested to hear what you. I am really excited for you to play the game. I want to know what you think about it. But I don't like where the game ends going into the next one. I don't like what they did, and yeah, I mean, I really just leave it at that, I guess. So
Was it too safe, or was it was just all over the place? It was messy. I
no, I can't describe it
okay.
without being specific. It's
Okay.
yeah, I don't want to risk it, dude.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So if you play when you play it and you beat it, we'll do a spoiler cast and we'll talk about the game and the ending and everything. But yeah, other than that, like with the game, like Montrell was saying, I think the way they designed all the characters is really good, really excellent. But they just have the same issues in terms of pacing that even Remake had, where there were a lot of
Hmm.
filler chapters in Remake.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Um, but in Remake, the game was 30 hours, so it was fine. You know, like you adding filler there that's a couple hours long. That's okay. You know, I can live with that. You know, because it might have been a 20-hour game, and maybe that would have been too short for a Final Fantasy game, right? And I'm a little bit more okay with it there. And the game didn't wear out its welcome. This game is so long that it does wear out its welcome because specifically in chapter 11, dude. Oh my god. There's a section where you get there's 7 party members you get in the game, and the 7th one is not really fun to play as. And there's a
Okay.
section that you are playing as him for probably 2 hours, just him. And
Mm.
you have to fight battles. There's actually a boss fight where you fight only as him. You have no party members with you. Like it's just him. And he's not fun to play. And there's like a weird mini game puzzle that they have in there. This was the mini games I'm talking about, where they're just like they're inserting weird shit. Like you literally just throw boxes, and you have to hit buttons. You have to throw one into a fucking funnel that like it's just like to like open doors and shit. It's just like why is this even here? Like the whole section is filler, and it just didn't need to be there, and it like ruins chapter 11. Like I fucking hate chapter 11, even though what happens before and after that is fucking dope for the most part. But it's like that section is a majority of the chapter, and it sucks. It sucks fucking dick. Like so I don't know. It's it's like the game just doesn't get out of its own way sometimes. Like finish what you're saying, just don't like it almost feels like in filibustering in Congress. Like it
Yeah.
felt like they're doing that, like with game content, it just
Well,
and
I don't know if Nomura. I know he was the director. Was he the creative
he's the
director?
creative director, yeah.
Okay. I
But
don't know if
he's
he was
not the
like
direct he's not the
he's not the
director.
Oh yeah, I was gonna
Um
say like I know like most Kingdom Heart games they kind of have filler and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
But
Kingdom Hearts, okay. Kingdom Hearts is filler. Like the whole series is filler. Like it's okay there because it all has the same vibe,
we expect it once we
Yeah,
know
I
what we
mean,
signed up for once we buy the game or once we
what
play it.
what is running around with Simba other than filler? Like it's cool filler, but it's filler. It's made up, you know?
Yeah,
It's just a fanfic. Like the whole thing's a fanfic, basically. So it's okay in like I don't know, the vibe of that series is just different. That's not it's not as serious,
yeah,
whereas this game largely is. So when you're gonna have sections that are goofy or just like not necessarily goofy, but like you're gonna have sections of the game where you're dead ass gonna tell me play as this character for 2 hours and have fun. It's like, and the character sucks to play as. Like, it's not a fun character to play. It's just like, and then then it's an action game that's not really an action game. It's just like it gets annoying after a while. Like I just you start getting frustrated, and they throw these enemies in this section too. By the way, in chapter 11 that I'm talking about, they throw enemies at you that flit. They go back and forth between being immune to physical or magical attacks. So you have to learn how to auto attack with your character with physical and magical. And obviously, I figured it out. It's not that hard to figure out. Like as I was explaining last week, some characters like Cloud's like air cutter attack when he dodges and he's throwing the air cutters at people, like those are
yeah,
magical attacks. This character kind of has the same mechanic where you dodge and he starts shooting like musical notes at enemies and they're magical. But the thing is, they do no damage. It's like, so you're just sitting there, you're fighting these things for like 5 minutes, dude. And there's a part you fight one solo, and then they throw 2 of them at you at the same fucking time. And again, you are by yourself. You have no party members. And then after that, they throw a boss fight at you where the boss does the same thing, where it goes between being immune to physical and magic. Like it's just so fucking obnoxious, bro. So yeah, I just like those parts of the game aren't fun, and it's frustrating because like right after that section is done when you're playing solo with the character, one of the coolest fucking fights in the game happens, out of nowhere, and it's just like, okay, so I don't know. I don't want to like bash on the game too much because overall I do think it's a great game. I don't know. It's like the game didn't have to be this big. I feel like coming back to it someday in the future when I have less like pressure in my head to like get through these games. Maybe I'll like the game more than I do now. It's just the story part of it kind of felt falling flat at the end. That and then all this bloat that I'm talking about, and kind of the action combat getting old, and not really. It's kind of overstaying its welcome. For me, like all that's kind of contributing to me like feeling a little more down on the game overall. But yeah, it's just frustrating. Again, I don't want to like harp on this again, but it's just frustrating that I haven't seen any of this criticism out there about this game. Like I just don't feel like anyone's talking about this stuff. And it's just like me and DJ are playing the game and we kind of feel the same way for the most part about it. And it's just like what is going on here? It's like it
Yeah,
just feels
it's
incongruent.
and it's interesting. You and DJ, I mean, y'all played like older Final Fantasy games, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like y'all are in the Final Fantasy sphere.
We're not.
Uh,
Yeah, I wouldn't.
and
I
it's
think
just
I'm more in the more modern sphere, I guess.
yeah, I am too.
But
I
not.
would
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. Right.
But I
I'm
did
not an
play the
OG
older
with it.
games. But yeah, I did play the older games, but I never looked at them as like with road tinted glasses or whatever the case may be. Um, I mean, my favorite Final Fantasy game is 13, so I can't really talk shit. But like,
Oh man! Wow,
yeah,
that's
so
controversial.
yeah, I know. I just like the combat in that game, so
Yeah.
I think it introduced the stagger system.
Yeah.
Say thank you to everybody. Thank you, Final Fantasy 13 for the stagger system. They're never going to say that though. But anyway,
You're
um,
right. It did come from that game. Now that I think about it. Damn, dude. Yeah, that's true. Shit.
um, but yeah, I just feel like uh, uh this is kind of why I don't look at reviews anymore. The type of reviews I do look at, right, are the ones who don't really score it. They just say their experience,
What
how
they
kind
think
of
of the game.
yeah,
Yeah.
like kind of how we do, right, or whatever the case may be. And yeah, that's why it was so disappointing for Rise of the Ronin, in my opinion. Like, I really didn't get any good. It was rare to find something like objective on that game or whatever the case may be. Because a lot of people
Hmm.
really didn't like the game, and
Yeah.
I felt like the criticisms that they were giving Rise of the Ronin should have went towards Final Fantasy VII remake or
I
rebirth
can't wait
rather.
to play it and compare.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
The first couple hours of the game I feel like are not strong at all, and maybe because I was playing on the hardest difficulty. Maybe that's why I was having such a rough time. It felt really like I was like, wow, this feels really restrictive. This feels really like not like I thought it was. But then it's like once the game opens up, which is weird because it's already kind of open, but it's not open. You still unlock stuff as the story go. The game really wants you to play a story, like in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've been clearing lands and stuff like that as I went, but my advice is like try to get to a certain point with the story and then try to clear some of the provinces. But sorry,
Hmm.
I didn't mean to go all on tangent about Rise of the Ronin. Anyway, for Final Fantasy VII, I feel like how you and DJ were describing it, I was reading y'all's things there, whatever. And sometimes when I'm reading y'all, I'm not ignoring y'all. I read it and I'm about to respond, but then I'm like super busy and I just forget whatever the case may be to respond to y'all.
I mean, I don't require a response. I'm just kind
Uh,
of throwing my thoughts to you guys because you're kind of the people I like bounce things off of nowadays. So
yeah. Um. So yeah, like but yeah, I really wanted to get past chapter 4, y'all. Like I did, and I
I
couldn't,
tell
man.
you, if you actually push through it, you would get instantaneously hooked. I think, but
Okay.
it's that good. Like chapter 4 is fucking awesome. I love chapter 4.
But
But
yeah, I mean, like So you give it like an 8.5 out of everything.
Yeah, dude, like chapter 12 is awesome. I love chapter 12. There's um some things that happen there. You kind of get some romance options in there at that point in the game, and there are some really amazing scenes in that chapter. You can only experience one of them. I would recommend people go on YouTube and watch the rest. They're all fucking awesome. Like they're so well done. So there's some really beautiful moments in the game. Like the voice acting is honestly, I know we were complaining about it early in the game, but it's honestly kind of mostly phenomenal across the board. I would say for a majority of the game for most of the characters, except for Sephiroth and Cloud at times. I think the two of them, they're really they're going for a thing with the two of them, and I don't think it's working as well as they hope. I guess is what I'll say. Especially Sephiroth, like he's just man, he just sticks out like a sore thumb in any cutscene he's in because it's just I don't know. It's just a deadpan, monotone speaking style. It's just not as cool as it used to be, you know. Like, um, so, um, but yeah, no, I think largely the story. The funny part, um, I don't know. I don't want to like. Maybe I'll hold that for spoilers, but you know, um, the game is good. Like it hits a lot of beats. There's a lot more to the game than even if you like go look online. There's even more than you would think. Just looking online, just trying to see like how big the game is. They just keep like layering more stuff as you get deeper and deeper into it. And stuff like new traversal methods and areas and stuff. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's like it's a great game, but it's not like a masterpiece for me. I would say I definitely enjoyed Remake more. For sure. And the changes to the combat, I like again, I haven't played Remake in 4 years, so I don't necessarily remember everything that game was doing. I know the combat was more simplistic there. But I almost feel like it worked for the game more. There's almost too much going on in this game sometimes. With the options you have at your disposal. Because it's not a good action game, so you almost have to like pause and like think about what you want to do in combat a lot of the time. And I feel like that's almost the intent of the game. Like that's what you're supposed to do. But I'm like sitting there trying to play it like it's a fucking action game and getting my ass handed to me, and it's just it's like annoying, Um, so yeah, this game's definitely more RPG for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, all right. I am also playing. So I finished Rebirth, and I jumped right after I finished Rebirth. I jumped straight into Unicorn Overlord. Because I bought both of these games pretty much at the same time and intended to play them back to back. So this game is from Vanillaware, and I played 13 Sentinels. This is a couple of years ago now, I think, and that game is phenomenal. It's one of my favorite games I've probably ever played. And I feel the same way about Odin Sphere, the remake from 2015, I think it was. Those two games are phenomenal games. Like they are masterpieces in the true sense of the word to me. Um, and this game has the same art style they always use, that kind of 2D sprite. This game has sprite based on the kind of the world map, and then it goes in and it kind of, when you go into the battles, it has that more Vanillaware style that they're known for. But it's a so this is a tactics game that is real time with pausing. And the closest corollary I can give is Ogre Battle, which is hilarious because I almost see no media outlets out there comparing this game to Ogre Battle, which is so weird because that's what it is. Like it's basically literally Ogre Battle. Like, but I think these people are just they're too young. Like they don't have that like history with games. Like they keep saying like Tactics Ogre and Final Fantasy Tactics. It's like this game is nothing like those games. Like nothing. It's like, yeah, it's a strategy game, and yes, you have armies and equipment and classes and all, and like level ups and stat growths and stuff like. And a lot of that shit is like that stuff is in those other games, but it like the core gameplay is a real-time game. So if you unpause the game and just leave it there, the game will play. Like, so there's no turns here. It's not turn based. So yeah, it's like Ogre Battle. And the game starts very um starts very simple, I guess I'll say. And at first, you can only have 2 units, so you'll have a unit basically, or a squad, I guess I'll call them. And you can have so many squads at one time, and that is limited by your progression in the game. You'll unlock this currency, when you do battles called honor, and you have to spend that to unlock more squad slots. But it also allows you to upgrade your current squads to allow you to have more slots within the squad. So squads start out with only allowing 2 units in them. And then you can have up to 6 eventually is what the max upgrade will get you. So the game starts simple, where you only have 2 units per squad. You might have 3 squads to start, and you have like 6 units total. It's pretty simplistic, but it very quickly starts ramping up where you're going to get units thrown at you constantly. Like characters will join your army constantly in this game. So you're constantly kind of expanding the breadth of your army and how many units you have available to you, and you're putting those units in those squads. And so, like I said, this game has many classes. It's honestly, I haven't even seen them all yet, and I've been playing for probably 10 hours, and it's pretty crazy actually. Like, I'd say there's more than a dozen unique classes, probably maybe 2 dozen, 3 dozen, like it feels like they're because they continue to introduce new ones every battle that I'm doing so far. And so there's a lot of depth in terms of the composition of your squads, like what types of units you're putting in there for certain situations. And this game has a lot of mechanics going on under the hood, because there's your pure stats, obviously, that they kind of determine how effective your units are in battle, of course. But underneath that, there are unit types. So you'll have your infantry type units, cavalry units, flying units, armored units, etc. Which, and if you've ever played like Fire Emblem or something like that, you kind of have an idea of that typing stuff. But this game has a little bit different mechanics here, where it has an effectiveness kind of, I don't want to call it a triangle, but you know how in Fire Emblem, like swords beat axes, axes beat lances, lances beat swords,
Yeah.
or whatever. It kind of has that in here, but it's not with weapons. It's with the unit types. So
Okay.
cavalry units are really effective against infantry, but then certain types of infantry are really effective against armored units.
Mm,
Um, Magic casters are really effective against armored units, for instance. But then there's like different types of infantry. Like there's thieves in this game. They're like the agility characters. They're the evasive ones, and they have really high evasion. Where like literally so high that enemy units will have like a 25% chance to hit you. But they also have a passive skill that gives them an auto evade if an enemy was going to hit them. And that makes them very effective as a frontliner, actually. But there are units like the archer class in this game called the hunter. They have a skill that lets them they guarantee a hit. They have a passive skill, so you cannot dodge their attacks, basically. So they're really effective against thieves. So it's like really deep like that, where it's like those are 2 different infantry classes that one of them beats the other. So it's not as simple as like cavalry always beats infantry always beats whatever, etc. There's trumping within these character classes, or these different types of units. So it gets really deep there, and the composition of your units, your squads rather, matters a lot in combat. So if you're going up against a squad of, let's just say you're going up a squad against 3 armored units, right? You need a magic caster to deal with those armored units. Or there's actually an infantry type unit that I just got, a heavier one that uses a hammer, and they're super effective against armored as well. So those
mm,
2 will beat armored. You'd probably want a squad comprised of those, with maybe one other type of unit to support those 2 in some way. So it's like you kind of have to think about your squad compositions when you're going into the battle. I haven't really had to do a whole lot of it so far, because this is the unfortunate part. the game is like hilariously easy so far. And I'm like a really experienced strategy gamer, so like not to toot my own horn or anything, but I just kind of get these games pretty quickly. I pick up
Yeah,
their
yeah,
mechanics and
yeah.
understand the layers that are underneath. I pick that up pretty quickly and what's effective and what's not. Right. And I picked this game's mechanics up pretty fast, and it's to the point that like, you know, the because I put the difficulty as high as it will go. There's 4 difficulties at unlocked at the beginning of the game, and I went to the highest one. Just to give it a shot. Sometimes in strategy games, the highest difficulty is really hard, like Fire Emblem, for instance. You don't even have Lunatic available to you or Maddening when you play the game, but when you beat it, you get it unlocked, and it truly is very difficult. Like it is a hard mode in those games. It will really stretch your strategy muscles, you know. But in this game, the highest difficulty right now is just not really challenging at all. To the point that it's like the idea of losing a battle in this game is like fucking laughable to me. Like will probably never lose a battle the entire game. You know, the only way it will happen is if I'm stupid enough, because basically the way the game works, you'll start the map out and you'll have a command post, which is basically just a flag on the ground, and you have to defend that point. If the enemies are able to take it from you, you lose the battle. So that would really be the only way I feel like I would lose a battle is if that happened. And maybe in some of the bigger battles later, it gets a little bit harder to like split your forces up and maintain a defensive kind of wall up that you can deal with defending your command post. But right now, so far, it's been pretty mind-numbingly easy for the most part. So that's kind of the thing. The disappointing part of it is that this game really has the underlying systems with this game are wonderful. Like I think this game is really well designed from a mechanical standpoint. Like the way the statistics interact, the different character classes interact with each other, and the way certain ones trump others, and how some of them are kind of equal in terms of power, and they kind of draw with each other almost, is really interesting. But like, because there's another layer to all this, by the way. So when your units clash with an enemy, the battle plays out automatically. You do not control what your units do. You don't control it directly, I should say. You're not picking commands off a list and telling them what to do. It just happens, and that's directly from Ogre Battle. Ogre Battle did that same thing. You could not control your units in battle for the most part. There were a couple little mechanics here. Sometimes you could like target specific units, maybe, or things like that, but it was pretty rare. You couldn't do it all the time. So this game has that same thing. However, there is a really, really deep system. So every unit has skills. They'll have active skills and passive skills. And most units start with one of each, but eventually as they level up, they'll get access to more that they'll be able to use. And there is a legitimately Final Fantasy 12 style gambit system built into this game where you can put conditions on the skills, and you're able to put 2 different conditions, and that will determine when units will use certain skills. So let's say you have a heal and an attack skill that is your active skills, and you want the heal to go off. You want to prioritize the heal, so you'll have to put that at the top priority, and then you'll have to say use this if this is true, like a unit in your squad is under 100% HP or something. You could say under 75% HP, you could say under 50%. You can go really granular with it. But then you would put the attack skill second as a second priority. So if you did it the opposite, you would never use the heal, because they like the attack skill doesn't have to have a condition to be used. So because they'll just attack whatever they decide to target. So you have to actually keep that in mind when you're putting your units in squads, is how their skills are aligned and what conditions you're putting on those skills in order for them to use them in the right situations. But in the battles, like the larger battles where you're moving your units around and going up to enemy units and attacking them, before the battle, the game will give you a predicted outcome of what's going to happen in the battle. And I think this is the game's major failing. Actually, I think this is the primary issue the game has in terms of difficulty, is it tells you exactly what is going to happen, like to a T. If it says you're going to lose 11 HP, you're going to lose 11 HP. If it says the enemy's going to get completely wiped out, the enemy's going to get completely wiped out. I personally feel like there should be an option or a difficulty level where they take that preview away. That would make this game way fucking harder.
Okay.
Because that's where the game is so easy. Because before combat, you're actually allowed to manipulate your squad. And you can even swap squads out if they're close enough to the unit you're fighting, to the enemy unit you're fighting. You can choose which squad fights. And then you can edit the squad beforehand. You can edit their equipment. You can edit the gambits that are on their skills. I'm calling them gambits. It's not what they're called in the game, but it's the best shorthand I have. You can edit gambits. You can edit their positions within the squad layout. And all of these things will change the outcome of the battle. It will determine who gets attacked, when they get attacked, what enemy units get targeted. You can completely change the outcome of the battle doing all these things, and that's where the game is easy because it allows you to basically manipulate things in such a way with every battle that you're getting the outcome where you win, essentially. And that's part of the fun of the game, I think, for some people. I've definitely heard a lot of I've heard people talking about this game, and that's one of the elements that they find really fun for the game. I actually find it, while I do find enjoyment from it, I do believe it's the reason why the game is so easy, though. Because you can literally, I like most of the battles I'm doing, you click, because basically what you do is you click on your unit and you like tell it where to go. And if you click on an enemy unit, it will give you a battle preview before you've even moved the unit. So you can kind of anticipate and be like, okay, this unit's going to be effective against this enemy unit, or this squad's going to be effective against this enemy squad. This one will be effective against that enemy squad, and you kind of start sending them off in that general direction. And by the time you get there, you figure out what way to manipulate the battle in such a way that you'll basically win outright, and even if you don't, you can go in and fight again. Like there's a stamina system where every battle you do costs your squads a stamina, a point of stamina. And when they run out of stamina, they have to sit and rest for a few seconds basically. But in game terms, that's a really long time, because the battles are the battles have timers, and those timers are only like 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes generally. So it is a long time, and also your unit when they're resting is vulnerable to attack as well. If they get attacked, the enemy gets a guaranteed first strike, and you might not even get to counterattack actually, depending on the situation. Um, so yeah, the game. So that part of it, that preview that they give you, is too precise, I feel like. And it allows players to really manipulate. And I think that's what they were going for. I don't think they wanted this game to be hard. Clearly, I mean, Vanillaware is not like a high selling studio. They don't sell a ton of games. Like they're not selling 10 million copies of a game. Um,
Yeah, but I
and
think
they're
this game actually piqued a lot of people's interest. I
oh
saw a lot of
yeah,
people talking about this game.
it's getting very good reviews. Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about it. It actually was top of the charts last week or 2 weeks ago
Oh,
in
nice.
Japan. In Japan specifically, which is really good. I think it actually was back weeks. It was top of the charts in Japan. So it's doing pretty well overall. But like Vanillaware, like their CEO came out before the game came out and said that they ran out of money, basically. So
Oh
like,
no.
yeah, so they're not like, I think they needed to get this game out basically. And not to say that it's unfinished or anything like that. It's not. It's got tons of content. This game's huge. But yeah, it's just that one thing. I kind of hope, because there's a difficulty you unlock after you beat the game that turns on permadeath for your units. So if a unit dies, they're dead permanently in the game, and that's not true normally. Like they just get knocked out and faint basically.
Okay.
And you can revive them. But with the permadeath mode, I'm actually like, if I had more time, I would play this game again with the permadeath mode, because I do think that would actually really up the challenge level in this game. Because it's not so easy that I never let my units die. I probably lost like 3 units probably so far that have like actually like gone to 0 HP, three or 4 or 5 units, somewhere in that range. So I'm being a little sloppy there, but the game lets you be sloppy. It's like there's no permadeath, so it's not an issue in that case. Um, so yeah, I think this game could be challenging with that on, but I think with the preview off, that would be another way to make it really challenging, because you would actually need to understand the game's mechanics on a much deeper level. Like you would really need to know, like, okay, this unit's going to be really effective against this one. for this reason, you're going to need to be looking through enemy skills and understanding like what they're going to prioritize, who they're going to attack, and stuff like that. Like you really need to know that down to a T, to be effective in that kind of situation. So I'd like to see that patched in personally. I'd love to see them patch that in as like an additional difficulty option later on. I think that would severely make the game more difficult. I think the other thing that they could do, and I did do some reading online about this because I was finding the game so easy. I was like, is this like how this game is? And people were saying that, yeah, this is like, if you're a strategy gamer, like this game is really easy. But they were saying that the issue later in the game is that the enemies just use generic equipment. They're not using anything like unique or powerful, really. And that would really help them out as well. So maybe that's something they could add to later on, that I would like to see. So it's not just combat in this game, though. There is stuff outside of the battles where this game has a world map that you actually run around and explore, which is really cool the way they did this. Early in the game, you take your first territory, and that unlocks a certain amount of map that is like kind of friendly to you, basically, where you can run around unmolested, basically. And if you go into territory you haven't fought the major battle for yet, there will be enemy units walking around, and you will have to fight them on the world map. And that will basically constitute fighting a single battle, where two squads are going against each other, basically. And if you lose that battle, you will actually get kicked back to the last safe space you were in, like safe area you were in. So if you go too far into the open world and you start fighting units that are like really high level that you can't beat, it's almost guaranteed you're just gonna get kicked out, and you're gonna go all the way back to where you started. Which I actually did that yesterday. I was running around just trying to explore as deeply as I could into areas I hadn't liberated yet, and I was getting some items on the ground. There's like shit you can pick up on the ground, crafting materials and other items you can pick up. Um, and yeah, I ended up running into a unit that I couldn't beat, and got kicked back to like the complete other side of the continent. And it was like fuck. But so you're running around exploring. It's actually really cool. I like the way they did it. Because there are like NPCs walking around you can talk to. When you get to certain areas, there'll be like a quest that pops up, and a battle might pop up there where you have to like fight a battle and complete like side quest. And there are tons of side quests in this game, by the way. It's got, like I said, it's got a ton of content. But what else is there? The towns. So there are towns and there are forts. The towns, when you liberate them, you can upgrade them. The upgrades are not super deep. It's usually 1 level for a minor town and 3 levels for like a major town. And that will unlock new features in that town. When you do that, you can leave guards posted from your army. They will get you currency and some resources sometimes, after you fight a battle. But they're not locked there. That you can use them in the actual battle portion of the game still. So it's kind of nice. You just post them there, and they just give you free stuff every once in a while. Upgrading. There's the equipment system is pretty interesting, actually. So every character has a weapon, and then they have 2 accessory slots by default, and I think they get 3 eventually. Some of them will unlock 3. So there's no armor in the game strictly, but you can put armor on as an accessory. Like there are shields that you can put on, as like a defensive item, but there are like accessories that do various different things. So the equipment can be kind of flexible as well with the units you use. The equipment gets really powerful too, from what I've seen. Like you can literally give yourself extra turns with some of the equipment, with your units, which is really cool. So the equipment system there gets pretty deep too. And then what else is there? Story. So I'm not going to talk too deeply about this. I don't think the story in this game is very good. Everybody's been saying that, and I was kind of hoping they were wrong, but I find that I'm kind of agreeing with them right now, as I played through it. It's a very generic Fire Emblem style, evil guy takes over kingdom, you have to rise up and take the kingdom back style story. But they reveal something very early in the game, that this dude has the ability to mind control people with some magic he has accessible to me, which is why he like took over the con. It's so fucking it's bad. It's not great writing, which sucks because Vanillaware is like they are typically really good storytellers. The reason I love 13 Sentinels and Odin Sphere is because of the stories. You know, the gameplay is great in those games too, but like the story is like the reason you're there,
Yeah.
especially for 13 Sentinels. Odin Sphere has a great combat system, but yeah, so to see that here, it's just like it kind of sucks. It's like, damn, dude. It's like, man, I'm hoping it gets better later on, but so far, yeah, it's not the reason I'm playing the game. I'll say
Okay.
I'm playing for the gameplay. So I will say if people are interested in like tactical games, um I do think this game is easy enough that it's a really good one to pick up and kind of learn because you don't have to engage with all these systems that I just mentioned. You can do it as far as you want. The game so far is easy enough where you don't really need to fully engage with all these things to be successful. You can make the game as complicated as you want, basically, is kind of how it feels. And I think that was the intent. So,
Yeah,
which
I
is good.
actually already bought it, so
Oh
it's in my
man,
backlog.
you
So
got to play this one, man. I do think you will actually really like this game a lot. Because did you ever play Ogre Battle back in the day?
no, I didn't. I didn't play
Oh,
Ogre Battle.
it's
That
so
one
good.
actually, none of the Ogre Tactics, Ogre Battle. I actually really didn't get into strategy games until Fire Emblem Blazing Sword. That was my
Okay.
first like
Yeah.
tactical strategy
Yeah.
game.
Well, yeah, I'll say this is a really fun one. The music is really good in this game too, which is always key for a good tactics game. You got to have fucking good music. And this game definitely does have a good soundtrack so far. Um, so yeah, no, it's a really fun game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I do. It's really long though, from what I've heard. It's like upwards of 100 hours. So I don't know if I'm gonna get the platinum in this one. It does seem like an easy platinum, so I may try it. We'll see. But I do want to get to some other games though. I'm really kind of like I want to get to Ronin. I want to play those Final Fantasy games. Like I want to get to some other stuff. So I'm not gonna rush through this game. I'm not trying to rush through it or anything like that. But
Hmm.
I may not go for the full complete on it either. So all right, Montreal. We've been talking. We're deep in this episode at this point, and we haven't even
Yeah,
started the
yeah.
news. So let's get into the news. Let's get out of the games we're playing and get into the news. So we got a lot of news this week to cover. So let's just jump right into it. First thing, this is big news. We did cover this a couple weeks ago and mention that we'll follow up when it actually happens. And it's Gearbox. Gearbox actually got sold. It's not finalized yet, but it's being reported that Gearbox is being sold to Take Two for $460 million.
Wow.
And if you remember, Embracer bought Gearbox a few years back. I think it was 2021 for one. Um, let's see, they paid 363 million actually back
Okay.
in 2021. Um, and they were going to pay an additional 1 billion um if Gearbox hit certain sales targets, which I don't know if that happened. So people are saying they paid 1.3 billion. They did not. It was 363 million. But they may have ended up losing money, but it's probably a wash for them overall. I will say they didn't sell everything related to Gearbox though. What Take Two is getting is Gearbox software proper, which is the one in Frisco, Texas. That's their main primary development studio, their headquarters. Gearbox Montreal, Gearbox Studio Quebec, and then Borderlands and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands franchises, as well as Homeworld, Risk of Rain, Brothers in Arms, and Duke Nukem. So those are all going to Take Two. Embracer is keeping Gearbox Publishing San Francisco, which is going to be renamed. They were formerly named Perfect World Entertainment. This one actually seems like it's because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter posting that they lost their jobs today when this was announced. Basically, it seems like they're shutting down this publishing arm. Maybe not fully, but to some degree, there's some layoffs happening there.
Okay.
Cryptic Studios is staying with Embracer, which is the MMO. They do the MMO title Neverwinter Online and Star Trek Online. Lost Boys Interactive and Captured Dimensions. Those are staying with Embracer. Decent possibility with those. We see some layoffs or shutdowns potentially, depending on what Embracer's going to do. But Take Two clearly did not want everything, so They took the big stuff, which is Borderlands, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and then Homeworld's probably the other really big one, and Duke Nukem maybe. Um, but yeah. So, what do you think, Montrell?
Um, it makes sense, I guess. Uh, I thought they were trying to buy themselves out. Gearbox
Um,
was.
that was so when we reported on this, it was like a month ago, I think. That was one of the options. It was buying themselves out or trying to find a buyer that they were comfortable with. Um, and I will say Take Two makes the most sense probably out of anybody because the Borderlands games like Borderlands 2 and everything before Embracer was all published by 2K, Take Two. So so they have a previous relationship with Take Two already, like Gearbox does. So
Mhm.
that's why this deal makes sense to me personally.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, it sucks, or I don't know if it sucks or not. To be honest with you,
I'm okay with it actually.
yeah, I mean,
I think this is good for Gearbox, frankly. To be
yeah,
honest with
they're
you,
they're under a more secure arm. So
right?
yeah, I mean, we know they're not going anywhere, and they can continue to make games. A lot of people still like their games and everything like that. So I think it's a win-win for everybody, in my opinion.
Yep, fair enough. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say on it. I mean, it's a big deal, but Embracer continues to divest. They apparently are still in 3.2 billion in debt. um Not dollars. I think it's in, let's see, where was it? 3.2 billion crowns is yeah. So yeah. They're still in a lot of trouble. They still have a lot of work to do over at Embracer to get themselves out of hot water. So all right. Well, so let's move on. I did mention this already before earlier in the episode, but the PS5 Pro specs have leaked, and they have been confirmed to be real. And this is supposed to be releasing in holiday 2024 this year. And this is what you can look forward to. So, rendering 45% faster than the current PS5, 2 to 3 times ray tracing, 4 times in some cases, 33 and a half teraflops, something called PSSR, which is PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution Upscaling. I think this is like similar to what NVIDIA has,
Yeah,
upscaling and anti-aliasing solution. So PlayStation has their own version of that. Support for resolutions up to 8K is planned for future SDK versions. Custom machine learning architecture and an AI accelerator.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So this thing is going to be powerful, but from what I understand, their investment here is in the GPU, not the CPU. The CPU is going to be the same.
Hmm.
However, they're going to be able. They said they're going to get about 10%. Well, they didn't say it. The document said that they're going to get about 10%, up to 10% more power out of the CPU, or performance rather, out of the CPU than they're currently getting. So this does mean that in certain cases, frame rate's not going to be super improved on certain games, depending on whether they're more CPU intensive or GPU intensive. So keep that in mind when you're making a purchasing decision with this thing. But Montreal, I mean, how does all that strike you? Is this a day one purchase for you?
No, I like the look of it. If this is the official design in this picture right here, I
I
do
don't
like.
know if that might just be a mock up.
Yeah, I think that's a
I don't know if
mock-up.
that's real, but
Um,
yeah.
it, I don't know. I actually like my PS5. I do wish it was a little bit more slimmer, to be honest with you. So I actually may get it. And I know it's like a waste of fucking money, but uh
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm a stickler for like space and stuff. I'm actually my project this summertime, and y'all pray for me, is to redesign my game room. Like I'm gonna actually make it look nice,
Oh
have
man.
nice cable management, put posters up and shit like that. Because we plan on
Okay.
staying in this house a little bit more longer and everything. Because we're actually building a deck outside this weekend, so it's gonna be cool. But but
Like
yeah,
a whole deck, like a wood deck.
it's like a floating deck. We're gonna build a
Oh,
floating
okay.
deck.
I was like,
Yeah,
dude,
so
that's a huge project.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we already have the materials and stuff, so we're gonna do
Okay.
it. But yeah, uh, I actually like I'm looking at my systems side by side with each other. And the PS5 is just fucking huge. Like the Xbox is like the perfect size. Like I travel with my Xbox when I go out of town and stuff like that because it's just the perfect size to put in my
Yeah.
bag and just go. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, the PS5 is just too fucking big, bro. Like, um, I don't know. I actually may invest. I may sell my old PS5, give it to or like sell it to one of my siblings or whatever for just a couple $100 or whatever. Um, and yeah, just buy me a PS5 Pro. That's if PS5 Pro is not hard to get. If it's hard to get, I'm just gonna keep a fucking regular PS5.
Yeah. I'm not
I'm
gonna
not-
go too crazy for it. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't. I mean, dude, I got the PS4 Pro and I felt like it was worth it. Um, so I probably will get this thing because I will say the interesting part about this situation is Xbox isn't planning on doing a pro version of the Series X.
yeah,
And while that makes sense, I do see a pretty big need for another performance bump. Like this generation is surprisingly poor in terms of game performance. Um, Games are like Final Fantasy is a great example. Rebirth, like Rebirth doesn't look that great. Like it looks worse than Remake, but it's because the game is huge, it's got this giant open world that it's trying to, keep rendered at all times basically. Which uses a lot more resources. So it's I think these games they're going further. They're trying to push the boundaries more with graphics than they ever have, and I do see a need for kind of a mid gen step like this. But I also just man I if we could just get like PS6 in like 2025 or 2026, that would almost be better. That would to me, but
yeah. I don't think that's gonna happen.
that's not going to happen. Xbox reportedly might actually do that, but which might explain why they're not going to do a mid-gen jump. But PlayStation's clearly not. So I do see
I
value
just
in this.
I understand what you're saying. Um, I feel like the industry now is getting away from. In my opinion, I think the industry should get away from making graphics the standard. Excuse me.
They
Um,
Dude, it sells though. Like it's
I
just
just really think they should. I think they should start trying to get away from it. At least online, at least on my part of online, a lot of people are starting to see that graphics really isn't the way that be all. And I understand for like the layman people, like, oh, the graphics need to be good and everything like that. And it's like, yeah, we can get better graphics. Like I think my greatest example, especially for layman people, when I say layman people, I'm talking about like just casual, like super casual gamers. Casual gamers really love Def Jam, Fight for New York, Def Jam Vendetta. Um, and then Def Jam Icons came out and that game flopped. But the graphics in that game were fucking phenomenal. But the
mm,
game actually fucking sucked because like they took away the fighting engine and all this stuff. It was all for the graphics. And I think that's like a really good example of what you're trading off. And I would just like to have, if I can have a billion people on screen, like if I'm playing some kind of strategy RPG game or strategy game and everything
mhm,
like that,
mhm.
and I don't need the game to look like shit, but if it looks like, a really good upscale PS3 game, I'm okay with that. Like, and that was another thing with like Rise and Ronin. People are like, this looks like an upscale PS3 game. It looks like a PS4 game, in my opinion, like an upscale PS4 game, and I'm okay with that. But that's just me though, and I understand that. Um,
I think we're a minority.
yeah, I really think the push for graphics is going to end up killing games in the future, and I hate that for us. To be honest
Well, I'm
with
trying to find it because I've heard like some developers have talked like Sony has talked about this before that dude like 90% of players play on fidelity mode
you. What?
if it has the choice. Yeah, it was like something crazy like that. It's like 80 or 90%, dude. Like we're such a insane minority that so I'm trying to find like an article or something that has this. I know I've heard that statistic out there before. So I just think like that's why they're going for GPU over CPU. They don't care about frames. Like frame rate's not the important thing to their
Oh
users.
man, that's so crazy.
It's graphical fidelity that matters, and that's what they're catering towards. They're catering towards the majority, you know.
Yeah,
So
I mean, if that statistic is true, then that makes sense. I guess that's the more logical, move and step into whatever. But yeah, I don't know, man. I would rather take like, I don't know. We say that, and statistically speaking, I mean, PlayStation may have those type of stats, and
Mm,
Xbox may have the type of stats, but then you get games like Breath of the Wild, which looks it's a stylized game and everything like that with like limited graphics.
yeah.
It's like a lot of people consider that the best game of this generation. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And I I think there's some like because the game is just well, it may not be good to me. It's okay, but like the game is just the game. What it is, it's like they knew what they were doing with Zelda, or whatever the direction they had and everything. And I remember people trying to do this weird push for Zelda to go towards a realistic style more thing. That's actually how we got Twilight Princess. But uh, and it just kind of didn't work, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not to say I don't want games that just look graphically really good. I love those type of games as well. I like my God of Wars. I like my Heavy Rains. I like my um uh the Order 13 what was it 1837 or something like that, whatever the fuck it's called.
17, 18,
18
1886. No, oh God.
I think it's 1886 actually.
1886. The order. Yeah,
Yes, 1886.
1886. God, what the fuck? What is wrong
Uh,
with me?
I actually like that game, despite it being relatively super fucking short.
Me too.
Um, um, and I respect the games that do that, whatever the case may be. Um, but I don't think every game. I think this one, it's almost like Dune, right? I don't need every fucking movie to be Dune. It's great when a Dune like movie comes around and just blows everything out of the water. You're like, man, this is a good ass fucking movie. But I don't need do I need every movie to be Dune quality? No, I
Hmm.
don't. And I feel like every the reason why we're in this gaming bubble and then like these mid upgrades and all this other shit like that is because everybody wants to be the next, you know, super graphic, everything. And I don't know, man. I don't need every game to look like, Drake on Uncharted. I don't need every game to look like a God of War. I just don't need that. I don't need every game to look like Spider-Man. I just want my game. I think Spider-Man actually would have been better if it was like more of a comic style looking uh game, in my opinion.
Did you get the suit where it was the Spider-Verse suit?
Yeah, I like that suit.
Dude, and the animation that was with
Yeah.
that? It's fucking awesome, dude. Like, that's so fucking cool. It was so that like, yeah, no, that kind of shit is really cool. Like, that would have been very interesting. I mean, I'm with you in the main. I think
And I
it's
understand we're the minority. It's just I I really think it should be the majority the majority,
well, Sony's like doubling down on their current design philosophy, and I just feel I feel like all the warning signs should be there that they shouldn't be doing that. You know, they're doubling down on the crazy graphics and the insane budgets with this kind of thing. You know, they're indicating that they're going to continue to go down that path, and I just don't feel like that's sustainable for them long term. You know, like
Yeah,
you can't keep ballooning your budgets every single game you make, where it's 300 million, then 400 million, then 600 million. It's like at a certain point it's going to be very very hard for you to make your money back, you know,
yeah.
where you're asking a game to sell 10 million to break even, 10 million copies to fucking break even. That's insane, you know.
Yeah, and I
um
think there is something like as market fatigue. Like you can't have too many big budget games. Like the reason why I feel like we get a GTA every 10 years is because Rockstar understands I can't make a GTA every 5 years. I can't make a GTA every 2 years. I
right.
put so much into it, and then they just build off of that one GTA or whatever the case may be. Um, but yeah, I just feel like
They're like a they're an exception to the rule though, dude. They're spending over $1 billion on GTA 6.
but when was the last time we got a GTA? 10 years
Well,
ago.
it's gonna by the time it comes out 15 years ago, like,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's that's my point though. They're an outlier because they can spend $1 billion on making a game, and then they can make 3 billion. Like, they're like the
Yeah,
exception to the
but that's
rule,
what I'm
you know?
saying. To me, they're the one people that they are the exception to the rule because they are the exception to the rule.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
because they know and this is not me. I don't even like GTA like that. I'm not even a GTA dick rider. Like I like GTA 5. That's the second GTA game I completed. No, third GTA. I've completed Vice City, 3, and then 5. So I I mean I like those games. I played San Andreas. I just didn't finish it, but I like those games or whatever. But it's like I understand what they're trying to do to those games.
Mhm.
Even like Red Dead Redemption. I haven't even played Red Dead Redemption 1 or 2. I played Red Dead Revolver. Um, but like Red Dead Redemption, like those type of games only come every once in a blue moon. You know, like they have a goal. That's what I like about Rockstar and then the money they put into the game. They have a goal in mind and then they do everything to accomplish that fucking goal. Like when you
Mhm.
play I did play Red Dead Redemption and I got halfway through it, but I was like, I went through this weird phase and I was like watching a lot of Western movies and all this other shit like that. And I was just really wanted to play a Western style game. And Red Dead Redemption, and apparently Red Dead Redemption 2 goes even further in that direction where you're playing in the Western game and you feel like you're playing in the Western style game or whatever. And the
Yeah.
story's good and everything like that and all other shit like that. You can see where the money goes or whatever. Um, and it's one of those rare games where I feel like almost 80% of the budget is put towards the games and not towards the marketing because they're
Mm.
one of the few exceptions where they don't have to market the game. The game markets its fucking
They
self.
really don't. Yeah.
You know, when you say I'm dropping GTA 6 on November 6th or whatever the fuck, right? I guarantee you, every layman, hardcore gamer, even if you're not into GTA, you know when GTA 6 is coming out. You know what I'm saying? So, like
Well, every other game is gonna head for the hills too. Like everyone's
exactly,
everyone's clearing out. If you announced your date for that week, nope, we're delaying our game. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Um,
So
and I think that's where, in my opinion, that's where Call of Duty failed. Like it was just trying too hard to do these yearly quotas instead of being the one game for the next couple of years. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me going on a tangent. I really do feel like, but the reason I went on this tangent is because I feel like this mid upgrade is kind of harboring their, like you said, their strategy. They're doubling down on the graphics. They're doubling down on putting more money into the games and everything of that nature. And I just don't really feel like that's the way, unfortunately. But
yeah.
who am I? I'm just a gamer, so
Yep. Fair enough. And credit to Moore's Law is dead for the leak. He's a YouTuber in the tech space, but he does focus on consoles pretty extensively. So, all right, Montreal, moving on. Dragon's Dogma 2. This game came out last week, and man, the hype was real. People were so fucking excited for this game, and it looks great. However, uh, Capcom pulled the rug out from under people with this game because uh, hours before the game came out, it became they dropped basically the microtransactions on the major stores for the game, and they're things that you can earn in the game basically, but they're the type of microtransactions that are like convenience microtransactions. You know, they make the game easier to play, quality of life stuff, and fast travel things, revive stones, stuff like that. That are really hard to come by supposedly in the actual game. Um, and I think this was true in the original game too. But this dropped, like I said, hours before the game comes out, and no warning, no mention of this whatsoever by Capcom beforehand. People are fucking pissed. Like this game is getting review bombed on Steam like crazy. There are a ton of these microtransactions, by the way, as well. There's probably like 20 of them.
mhm.
Um, and I know you were excited about this game too. Did this like put you off at all?
No. I'll tell you why. It's a so this is gonna sound like an excuse, but it's not. It is. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna own it. It is an excuse.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I heard someone put this in put it as this right. So my Resident Evil 2 has this. The remake has these. Devil May Cry 5 has these kind of microtransactions. Resident Evil 8 has these as well.
Yeah.
So this is not a new thing. This has been a theme with Capcom. They started doing it with Devil May Cry 4 special edition. I think that's when it started. Or maybe before that. So they call them, it's almost like tip microtransactions. That's what a term someone coined, and I kind of feel like that's what they are. Um, like you're tipping the developer for making this game or whatever the case may be. Because you're right, these microtransactions are totally uh doable. I don't know about Dragon Dogma 2, but like for instance in Devil May Cry, like you can buy red orbs, and red orbs are tied to unlocking moves, but it doesn't hinder your ability to unlock orbs. They even have a a thing to unlock more orbs as you go through the game, and you do unlock more orbs as you get better with Devil May Cry, and the
Mm.
difficulty goes up. You unlock more orbs to get more moves and stuff like that. Um, but or you can just buy the orbs. You can buy like 1,000 orbs for like $1, or not 1,000 orbs, 100,000 orbs, which is a lot actually,
Yeah.
for like $1, for like two
Yeah.
dollars or whatever. You can buy these things called golden orbs for like $1 or something like that, which is like, if you can also find them throughout the level, and you can purchase them with orbs as well. Um, and golden orbs are like, continues with no penalties or whatever. Otherwise, if you do continue in the level, when you die, you have to either pay some orbs, or you just can die and go to the last checkpoint or whatever, instead of immediately picking up where you left off. So it doesn't hinder the gameplay at all or do anything to the gameplay. It's almost like a pay to win, but it's like a single player game, so you're paying to win. It's not as egregious as Shadow of War. When I think of like egregious microtransactions,
Paid inconvenience, yeah, or
yeah,
paid convenience, yeah.
yeah, they don't hinder the gameplay. Like Shadow of War was purposely hindering the gameplay so that you can buy these XP boosters and everything of that nature.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're doing that here, but you know, the somebody I like the article I put in our thing here. They did say that like the whole point of this game is inconvenience, though. Like that's like what you're like. That's why you're playing it, kind of, and like to put in microtransactions for convenience does go against that design philosophy. You know,
I guess. Uh I don't know. It's been a standard in all their games. Uh like I said, since like Devil May Cry 4 a special
like how
edition.
would you feel? Let's put it like how would you feel if Monster Hunter started selling like rare monster parts as a microtransaction, Like,
Yeah, that would definitely, but I don't feel like they're doing that here.
no, I know it's not an exact one-to-one comparison, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but I would be pissed about that. I would
like
be pissed
they're
about that.
selling like fast travel crystals, things that which are super rare in the game supposedly. Um,
But
they're selling like a
I heard you can reuse them like all the time though. That's
yeah, I
what I
don't know. I
heard.
mean, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know
I
though.
haven't played the game.
Yeah,
They did say that there is a tent you can buy that's like lighter than the one you can get in game. As well, and you can't get it any other way, like stuff like that. Like it's probably minor stuff overall, but it's like if you're gonna do that, like why even why do this? Like I don't understand. Like who made the decision to do this way? Whoever did that is like a fucking I don't know. Like did they really think this was gonna work?
probably. Probably. Uh it does work to a certain extent. Like,
I'm sure they're making money off it.
yeah, I mean, I like I said, if you look at it as, and like I said, it's a poor excuse, but it is what it is, right? If you look at it as like I'm tipping the developers for making this game or whatever, like, and then that's how you look at it,
Yeah, but
in my
you've
opinion.
already tipped the developers.
You bought
You
the
bought a
game, yeah.
$70 game. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it personally. It's like, in a free to play game, microtransactions have to exist, right? For the game to be able to make any money, right?
Yeah.
But in a full price game, it's not like that, right? And I understand the whole tip thing. And some indie developers do this. They'll put a microtransaction that literally gives you nothing. And it literally says tip for the developers or coffee DLC or something like that, And people are okay with that in certain situations. So I don't know. I'm not personally up in arms about this. This isn't going to prevent me from playing the game if I do decide to play the game.
No, I
Um,
you know what's really funny about this game? I really think like all of us in our friend group, if they can just get their heads up their asses about it not being multiplayer, we really love this fucking game. We really love this
yeah,
fucking game. It's a it's a really fun
Montreal,
game to
we can't
play.
even get Jet to play Mass Effect, bro.
I
Like
know, man.
I
I just know he would fucking love Mass
yeah,
Effect,
I
man.
know he would be up that games. He'd be up that series fucking asshole, like so fucking hard, dude. Like, but no. He doesn't play anything single player, man. Like he really doesn't. Or if he does, it's gonna be some weird RPG, like a D&D RPG or something. Like dude, he won't even play Baldur's Gate. You know, it's like which you think he would love. So he's just not that kind of gamer, man. You know,
Yeah,
um, as frustrated as we are with it, it's like
yeah, it is what
so.
it is. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I definitely can see arguments on both sides. That's why I'm not really fighting it, but I'm not really defending it as well. It's like I see both sides of the story. I'm just used to it at this moment. Like as a Capcom uh fan, I guess I call myself a fan or whatever, but as a Capcom fan, like they do this with all their single player games, and I don't mind it. Especially like for me, right? When I played Devil May Cry 5, I beat that game, and then I wanted to play Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. I didn't want to go through everything again. So I did buy some fucking orbs and unlocked all the moves that I was using originally in Devil May Cry 5. Um, I just didn't want to do the shit again, or whatever.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it helped me in that aspect. Um, I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where it's like it's a fine line. It's really teetering that fine line. It can go either way.
It's always case by case.
Yeah,
All right. Well, let's move on. Montreal. We got unfortunately another sad story. Um, so the Tales of series character designer Mitsumi Inumata died at age 63. She was the main designer through every game up until uh, Tales of Arise, which, interestingly, if you think about it, you can actually tell because there's a very distinct style to Tales characters up until Arise, which really diverts pretty hard away from it. That
yeah,
that
yeah,
existing style.
yeah,
So I did just want to call this out. There's not a ton to say here, but this is it's sad. 63 is a pretty young age, not in the modern day, and it sucks because um, I love Tales, and I think there's a lot of really iconic character designs from the Tales series of certain characters, and it's a very um recognizable art style for me personally. So
I agree. You're right. I actually didn't notice until you just said that how different even the box art is just different. Like
oh yeah,
everything is just is a Tails usually has more of a soft looking,
yep.
but very distinct looking style. It was almost like they wanted it to
Kind of
be
what you'd say,
cartoony.
what you think of when you think of anime, like
Yeah, but it's yeah, it just had like a very soft like anime looking style, um, and everything. And then like yeah, Rise was more modern anime, if that makes any
yeah,
sense. Yeah, it looked more
yeah,
modern as far as the anime, and I actually like you said, I like the old Tales designs. It was a lot of simplicity in it, but like a lot of distinct features. Like I know how Floyd looks. Lloyd rather. I know how Lloyd looks, and then I know how Yuri looks and everything in my head. Like I can just look
yeah.
at them and like I can visualize them, and that's what it is because they have very distinct silhouettes, and it was very simple silhouettes. Whereas it's like um Alphen, he had too many shapes. Like
Yeah.
it's weird describing it like that, but he just had a lot of the characters in Arise. They had too many uh shapes for their silhouettes. It wasn't really the only person that looked classic was Renwell. She looked like a classic Tails character.
Mm,
Everyone
mhm.
else looked very like
Yeah.
uh had too much sophistication going on with them or whatever. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but they had too much of that going on. Yeah, so yeah, this is super sad. I don't know, man. Over the last like 5 years, like I'm really praying for like all of the developers and creators in Japan because I know a lot that culture is like super overworked, and
Mm.
a lot of these a lot of the greats are dying at like 50.
I
Like
mean, dude,
Berserk.
our OG game developers are getting they're up there, man.
Yeah,
Miyamoto's a fucking old, bro. Like,
yeah, yeah. That is true.
I mean,
Um,
this is gonna start happening, and it sucks. Like, I feel like this is just kind of the beginning, you know?
yeah. And but a lot of it was like not expected, Like we could I
Yeah.
if you're like 80 or something like that, I kind of expect it, like damn, that fucking sucks. But like in my opinion, 60 is still young. Like even 70 in some degrees is like
Yeah.
kind of still young.
I mean, average
Uh
death age is 77 in the United States. So,
okay.
which tells you that yeah, 63 is definitely young for sure. So, um, yeah, it's unfortunate, sad, but rest in peace. Yeah, we'll always have those old school Tales games. So, all right, Montreal, let's move on to our next story. Riots, man. Did you suspect this one? I feel like you may have probably had an
Yeah,
inkling about this
I
because
did. I
we haven't
did.
heard about this shit in a while. But their co-founder and CPO Mark Merrill confirmed that they have basically reset development on the League of Legends MMO. He said, "quote But that project has been set back to its early stages to pursue a new design direction. Decision was made some time ago based on the studio's feeling that the in development MMO set in the League of Legends, the initial vision wasn't enough from what you can play today." He said, "We don't believe you all want an MMO that you've played before with a Runeterra coat of paint," which is certainly an interesting quote. But I mean, we hadn't heard about this game for a while. MMOs take forever to
I
develop.
would say like hey man, if you give me like a WoW style game with Runeterra on it, I'll fucking take that shit in a heartbeat, man.
Well, I guess that's a good place to start, right? Like, do you think he's right with that?
Yeah, I do think he's right. Like I said, I think we're in the minority as far as like um the way games are played, what younger gamers want, and everything of that nature. I don't think younger gamers would like the old style of WoW.
Yeah.
If you play the new style of WoW, it's dramatically different. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Way faster.
it's way faster. Yeah, it's just way
A lot more
faster.
complicated, actually.
Um,
Yeah.
it's almost to me, it's like instant based now. Like it's weird, man.
Yeah.
Like the world doesn't seem as connected as it used to be. Like in
Yeah.
old classic WoW,
Yep.
and I
No, it's
think
totally
that's
true.
yeah, and I think in my opinion, from like the early developments of what I was reading for the MMO, I feel like they were targeting like that classic WoW one connected world with a couple of like the dungeon being the instance, but everything else being connected. I think they were going for that, where it's like a slow grind, for people more like us, right? Um, uh, and I don't think that's the wave anymore. I think the wave is the Final Fantasy style. Even though I think Final Fantasy, as much shit as a lot of people give it, even me, I think that's a really good balance. I think the new version of WoW is the most extreme version of Final Fantasy 14. I think Final Fantasy 14 is way tamer.
Yeah.
Uh, I would like the world to make more sense or be feel more like a world like I want to be in instead of like an instance I'm running from point to point. Um, like the classic WoW did. Um, I guess I would like the world to be more of a danger, right? I don't know. Maybe danger is not the word I'm looking for, but I just want to feel
Mhm.
more immersed in the actual environments in the world and everything of that nature. Because I can only remember a handful of environments in my head for Final Fantasy 14. Everything else is a blur. Whereas I can still remember everything, the routes I took, and wow,
Yeah. I mean, WoW is certainly iconic in its own zone design, right?
yeah. And
I do think Final Fantasy has some very striking zones though in the expansions.
mm,
In the original Realm Reborn, they were not, the world design wasn't great
yeah.
in that back then. It was just a bunch of muddy looking, you know, it felt like somebody drew just like a bunch of geometry and put trees on it and shit. It wasn't like super. It didn't have that iconic feel. I guess that's what I'll say.
Well, I feel like they put all their because I can remember the dungeons in Final Fantasy
They
14 to
put a
a
lot of
T.
effort into
They put a
those.
lot of effort in the dungeons,
Yep,
um,
definitely.
whatever. So it's interesting to see what they are going to do, because everyone keeps trying this new. They keep trying to reinvent the MMO genre. Like they keep trying to do like the Korean style. I call it the Korean style MMO, where it's like this action, Black Desert style combat, which I feel like
They're just not fun. They
they're
just
they are yeah
they
they aren't
never work. They just are not fun. I'm sorry. Like I
yeah.
don't know. I maybe we're just dinosaurs, dude, with this with the MMOs, but I just don't think they work. Like action based MMOs just don't. I don't know. They're not.
They always end up turning into a Dynasty Warriors MMO. That's how I feel every
Yeah.
time I play it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I guess this is not really what I was going for or
Well, because
whatever.
yeah, dude, I remember like I tried. Remember Fantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis? How hyped we were for that shit,
Oh my god,
and
yeah.
and I tried it, man, and it's just like I was like, what is this? Is not at all what I thought it was gonna be. It just wasn't there, and it's like I just find the tab target combat to be way more satisfying for an MMO. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know, it just works so much better with the format, because you inherently have other players in the game, and when you're talking about an action game, it's got to be precise if it's going to be a true action game like that, like a Terra or Fantasy Star or
I was
something
gonna
like
say
that.
that like the one game that did do the action thing really well was Terra. And they
Yeah,
never and I don't think anyone ever revisited what made Terra good. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
yeah, but that game didn't even last, right? Like as
yeah,
good, even
exactly.
though it
That's
was
true.
good, it ended up dying, right? So I think MMOs are just really tough in general, and I think Riot I think his quote here is very, a lot of people agree with him, right? They're like, "Yes, absolutely. We don't just want World of Warcraft and League of Legends form,
Yeah.
But
Which version of World of Warcraft are they talking about? Is
right,
it
exactly, cuz yeah, the game has evolved a lot over the years. But to go further with it, it's like are they capable of coming up with a unique fresh MMO take that's really going to take off, dude? Like because I don't so many
and
people have tried to do it and they've all failed pretty much. So,
it's not saying they shouldn't try, but you're right, right? Everyone has tried their own fresh take on.
dude, Age of Conan, like as much as Guild Wars 2 is still successful, I don't consider that game like a hit, you
No,
know.
I don't either.
Um
Even the newer game. What's the one Amazon just made? Uh
New World.
New World. Like even
Yeah.
that one, right?
Yeah.
Everyone, even us, we were like, man, this looks kind of cool. And then it comes out and we're like, yikes. like,
Yeah, it's like a shit show. Yeah.
yeah, even Elder Scrolls, right? Which I feel like kind of worked, but
Yeah.
like didn't work at the same time, right? It's like you got to come out and you got to come out swinging hard. I feel like the only MMO, to be honest with you, well, there's a couple of them. Like EverQuest, obviously, was probably one of the first ones to do it correctly that come out like just like out the gate and like this is what it is. And people loved it. And I feel like WoW was the first one too, or the second one to come out the gate. They didn't really have to redesign anything. As much as a lot of people like Final Fantasy 14, it did have a huge redesign, which is Rebirth or Realm
Yeah.
Reborn.
Yeah.
Um, Guild Wars 2 had to go through like I remember that the controversy when that game first came out. Um, yeah, and even like Black Desert and um It's called Blade and Blood or something like that. I forgot what it was called. It was a Korean MMO that got a lot of money behind it. Like a lot of these games, they had to kind of redesign themselves or patch themselves up later. Um, MMOs are like very, very hard to come out with out the gate. I think the one game that might do it, man. We hardly ever talk about it. Well, barely. It's Pantheon. I think that might be the game once it finally comes out. Like they will be firing on all cylinders, and
I
actually
don't think
might.
it's the game. I don't think it's the game.
You don't think so? I think it
No,
might
I
do it.
think that game is highly niche. I don't know. I want to believe I do, but it and maybe they get 1 million subscribers consistently, for the
Yeah,
game, but I just don't know if I think that it's like you said at the beginning, right? Younger gamers aren't going to flock to a game like Pantheon. So they're like their player base is extremely limited to people who like EverQuest basically. Like is kind of what they're going for with that game, and with how long that game has been in development for, I just I'm sorry. With my experience in games, it's a red flag that a game has been in development that long. I don't care how much care and, like care and feeding, I guess I would call it, that they're really putting into the game. Because the guy who started the studio died, like the dude, he's the original, what was his name? Aradune is like his character name. But he's one of the original guys from EverQuest that was like a huge name, and he died a few years back. And the studio is continuing on with the game, and meaning that like whatever his vision was for the game is probably been altered at this point, and he was probably the one that was going to lead it to a successful way. So I just I don't know. That game's such a wild card to me. Like I could see it being successful, but it's just I just don't I don't think what they're going for is going to be appealing to a mass audience though. So I don't think Riot should be anywhere near that space personally if they're trying to make an MMO that's like huge. Um, but what I will say is like in terms of combat, like if they're trying to innovate combat, sure, great. But if they're gonna go with tab target, like I don't know, I'm probably like a fanboy for this game, but I always go back to Ion as like my that game's combat is fucking awesome. It's just that the everything around the game sucks. NCSoft is shit. They're a terrible developer. They don't know how to they don't know how to like take care of the game in any real way. They don't care about the player base. So they always ruin that game. And the netcode in that game is dog shit. So like PvP sucks. But dude, like the core combat mechanics, like you played the fucking game, like the core combat mechanics feel fucking great, um fighting mobs and stuff and using your abilities and just the way all the classes are designed is like really intricate and detailed,
yeah. When we were doing
um
dungeon and shit, that shit was fun. Especially once I got my skill that y'all paid for me to get. So, uh,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I even think the tab targeting, and I know this is people. A lot of people don't agree with this, but like, I even think the tab targeting in fucking Star Wars was very fun. I know a lot of
mm,
people don't agree with that, but I think it
the old
had,
Republic.
yeah, the Old Republic. I think it was really cool. I think if they just had more content and made you engage with the combat a little bit more with said content, it probably would have been one of the best MMOs on earth, like bar none.
I don't think the combat was that good in that game.
I,
I don't
I I think so. I think it was really cool.
I didn't like it personally.
Uh, but no, and like I said, that's controversial because a lot of people feel like how you felt too. So I don't know. I just don't know what the perfect combat is. Actually, you know what? For me personally, I feel like Final Fantasy 14's combat is like damn
It's
near
fun.
flawless. Yeah,
It's fun.
like
It just looks really silly when you're watching it.
yeah.
Like it's like a dance performance, when you're watching a raid. Like
I like that shit though. That shit's stupid to me.
I know, and the music is amazing and everything is just like I think what Riot really needs to key on though is like
I think what they need to key on is instead of what they should do. I think they should lean into the isometric shit. and just
Yeah,
do
you could.
yeah, and do
There
like
are
a
isometric MMOs out there.
yeah, and
Do
um
like a do like a fucking like Lost Ark style maybe or something like that.
yeah,
Actually,
that could
I
work.
like that a lot.
Yeah.
Lost
Like,
Ark was dope, dude. The combat in Lost Ark was fucking amazing.
it's
Like,
just like Monster Hunter.
fuck it, fuck off. No, the combat in that game was really, that was the reason I kept playing it, because it was so fucking satisfying, like, to play. That is an interesting. That's an interesting idea. Like, Riot could make a way better game than Lost Ark is. I feel like
Yeah, I feel like they already
not like
have.
no, none of the Korean bullshit, the grindy Korean
Yeah,
bullshit,
yeah.
like where you have like the randomized like gear, enhancing and shit and all that garbage, and like all the dailies and stuff that they make you do. Like, you can get rid of all of that, right? Um,
I feel like the game is already. I mean, obviously, League of Legends isometric, and they already have the. I feel like their fan base would move towards that a little bit more, be more receptive towards that as well,
yeah.
and then it'll be the vice versa as well. People who are playing the MMO will be like, oh well, the actual game is also isometric, and then I can get into that as well.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
I think it would be a really cool thing to do. Even make it like Ultima Online type thing, or what's the one you're playing? Ravenshire,
Raven
Ravenspear,
Dawn,
Raven
Raven
Dawn.
Dawn,
Yeah, make it something like that or
or
whatever. Where
RuneScape.
yeah, RuneScape, where I feel like though if you just implement, because I feel like you have more um scalability with the isometric style. You can do all this crazy stuff. Like I can own plots of land and add plots of land and do all this other shit. It opens up a lot more opportunities instead of doing the classic third person MMO stuff. I don't know, just try to mix it up a little bit. Like because I like all the stuff you say in the Raven Dawn that you can do, where it's like, I can also gather and, make my own land and all this other shit like
Yeah,
that. And that shit sounds
yeah,
really cool because it feels like that world is actually your world. You can go to your house, I can tend to my crops, and then I
yeah.
can go out
Well, that
hunting, I can do some questing and shit like that.
that's something I've wanted out of MMOs for so long, dude. Is just like, the biggest thing with MMOs is immersion for me, and obviously that word is like a trigger word for some people, but um, you want to feel invested though in the game, in the game world specifically, and like Raven Dawn kind of does achieve that with all those mechanics in there, because you like, the game has like a kind of a symmetry, like a symbiosis you have to um live in, where you have to go, you can't just grow crops the whole time, you have to go play the game, you have to go
Yeah.
like kill enemies and do quests and stuff to get the resources you need in order to plant your crops, or get the energy, rather, that is the kind of the energy system for that whole thing. So it's interesting, like that would be kind of an interesting direction for them to take it. um but I feel like it would work. I don't know if their player base is looking for that necessarily, but I will say the isometric is an interesting thought though, because then you can kind of take League as your baseline and like kind of build away from that.
Yeah. It has a lot more
Um
scalability than doing the traditional third person mode,
right.
in my
Well,
opinion.
and then wouldn't it be funny if you have an MMO and the PvP mode is just Summoner's Rift in the game? Like, wouldn't that be awesome though? Like, Summoner's Rift is like a location, in the game
Yeah.
world, and
Yeah,
you like go there and
it
you
just
you
takes
you
you
just
over there.
you just play League in the MMO. It's like, but you're using your equipment and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
That
like
would actually that's actually a dope idea, Justin. You
like
should submit that to them. That's actually dope. I'm not gonna
like
lie. I didn't even think about that.
that'd be sick, man. But you like, if you did it as a third person MMO, like a World of Warcraft style, you could do that same thing kind of, but it wouldn't be as novel, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, and it probably wouldn't be as interesting. So I don't know. I mean, like there's some cool. I don't know, that isometric thought is like interesting, and Lost Ark really like put it in my head that like you can make that style of game like fucking crazy awesome in terms of gameplay. I mean, obviously I played ARPGs before that have really good gameplay, but it kind of, Lost Ark just like took it to another level, man.
Yeah.
The way all those classes work, and the enemy fights and stuff are just so like, it's like you have to experience it to really understand what I mean. Like it's so like just the way you dodge and you position yourself around the enemies and the way your skills like they'll do more damage from a certain orientation, like if you're hitting the enemy in the back or the side or something, and stuff like that, and just the way all that works is like it's just really fucking fun. It's a really fucking fun game. So um that feels like a really good spot for them maybe to go, but I don't think they're going to go that way. I think they want to make a splash, and they're going to do it in the traditional MMO space probably. But I don't know. I mean, he's saying, you know, they don't think we want an MMO with that we've played before. So if that's the case, like going in the isometric direction is probably actually more unique than trying to do it from third person.
And I think it would be better too. It won't cost as much money. I mean, it still would cost a lot of money because even isometric ones are very, um, the graphics are really good and distinct, but it won't cost as much as far as like a third person mode type
Mhm.
game, you know? Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it definitely would be cheaper for
yeah.
sure. Well, they'd be able to
Oh,
get it out more quickly too.
exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that would probably be the wave. I don't know. Maybe you can make it to where you can switch it between third person and isometric mode. I don't fucking know. Maybe that would be their saving grace or
That'd be
their
interesting.
yeah.
Certain situations you have to use one or the other. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of a cool idea too,
Yeah.
actually. Um yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, we're not going to see this game for years and years and years now, so
Yeah.
like it won't come out probably before 2030. So
Yeah, I hope
there's
they
not
don't
much.
cancel it though. I really want them to make a game exploring Runeterra's world. I mean, they already made
Yeah,
other games, single player games, but I would really just like to run around in the world
living
in a
in it.
3D,
Yeah.
yeah, living in it and stuff like that. So
Going to all the major regions that exist. I mean, it's a world built for an MMO.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
it is so that's why I don't think this was their chance to cancel it, right? They sat down and they were like, "All right, this isn't working. We don't like what we're making here. Like here are options. Cancel it or reboot it." And they decided to reboot it. So I don't think there's a huge concern of them canceling it in the short term, but it's also true that we're not going to see this game for several years. So yeah. All right, Watcher, let's move on. We got a couple more stories to get through. Next one is a trailer that DJ sent us, and this was just announced yesterday. It's called Marvel Rivals, coming from Marvel Entertainment, but the developer is NetEase, or one of their development studios is NetEase. And yeah, they're making a Overwatch style Marvel multiplayer game. That's kind of how I would describe it.
Which is
Um,
almost like, why hasn't this been done before?
yeah, I mean, dude, watching the gameplay, there's a short 2-minute trailer, but man, I gotta say, I was pretty impressed to be
Yeah,
honest with
me
you.
too, man. I was like, I will be there no matter what. I watched the gameplay. I was like, ugh, all right, DJ, what is this shit? And then I watched it, and I was like, holy shit, this looks fun as fuck.
I
Like,
mean, it looks just like Overwatch. It really
but
does. Like,
but we liked Overwatch. It was just,
yeah,
you
yeah, with
know,
the Marvel skin, I mean, with all the characters, like it is kind of perfect.
yeah,
And I mean, it looks kind of cool. Like Doctor Strange can like open portals and shit to like other parts of the map, which is like that's fucking cool, right? Like if you're gonna make him in the game, he needs to be able to do shit like that. So it seems like they're not going too conservative, I guess, with the design space of the characters
yeah.
necessarily, which is good. Because they
Well, it
shouldn't.
also has like destructible environments and shit like that. I
Yep.
mean, they're definitely trying to separate themselves from Overwatch in that aspect.
Yep.
Um, and there are a lot more melee classes, whereas Overwatch, almost everyone has some kind of shooting ability.
Yeah.
Um, Also, it's third person; it's not first person, which I love. So,
Yep.
uh,
Definitely. Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know. I think it looks really fucking cool though. It was almost like I said, it's one of those things where I'm like, why hasn't this been done way before this? And I'm pretty sure Blizzard is eating their shit because I'm pretty sure Marvel came to them first and was probably like, "Hey, how about you guys
Man, they
make this
fucked
game?"
up.
Yeah,
They fucked up so
I feel
bad
like
with
this game's
Overwatch.
gonna be a huge hit. I don't
Oh, I
know.
do too. I agree. I mean, dude, like Loki was in there and he can like steal other characters' abilities and like turn into other characters and stuff. Like
Yeah.
that's fucking awesome, dude. Like I love that. And like Spider-Man's in there and he's fucking webbing everyone up like crazy and shit. Like I don't know, it looks good. And I mean, obviously with Marvel, there's endless characters to add to this kind
Yep.
of game. But also there's this mechanic they showed where certain characters can team up with each other, like
Oh yeah. Yep.
Rocket and Groot could like Rocket could jump on Groot and they would be like combined together and fucking running around and he'd be shooting and Groot would be like punching people and stuff. So I think that's a really cool idea too. Um, that's gonna work pretty well. So I don't know. There's a closed alpha coming in May. So I don't know how soon this game is necessarily going to be out. Maybe in the next year, year and a half, or something like that. But from what they showed us of it, it definitely looks promising for sure. And maybe this is the game that gets us back into our, back into Discord, man.
No, they're not gonna play this game, man.
Um, man, I think my problem right now with the multiplayer is like I just need something fresh, dude. I'm just tired of like the same old shit. And I know that they would be like, "Oh, play Helldivers 2 with us." Oh, and it's like I don't know. I'm not into horde mode, Like that's just not my I've never really been into that personally. I like competitive multiplayer games generally, so.
Yeah, I can tell that's not your style. I don't know. I like horde mode style multiplayer games. I was a sycophant for fucking Gears of War 3 or Gears of War
Yeah,
2
I
horde
was never
mode.
into that. Never
Yeah,
into it.
and like I said, me and DJ, we played fucking Mass Effect 3's multiplayer for fucking hours. We had that shit down to a science on what to do and everything, and all the
Mhm.
classes they released after that. From Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, I feel like that was just a really underrated multiplayer game. As
Yeah.
much shit as everyone gave it, it was really fucking fun. But yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know. I agree with you though, but I don't think they're gonna play this. Um, they're a real. Our friend group is a weird particular bunch, a weird particular bunch. Um, yeah, for some reason I don't feel like they would touch this game. Um, yeah, that's just how I
We
feel
said
though.
that about Overwatch though, and we did end up getting.
Well, who left Overwatch? Because we were still playing it. I still wanted to play Overwatch. I think
Yeah.
I think one person
Well,
did
Jet
leave.
hated it. He didn't want to play it ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Andy, I feel like Andy will play this with us.
Yeah, you know what? Andy will play this with us. Yes,
Brad's definitely gonna say no.
he might say yeah. He liked Overwatch, but then he left it for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
So
don't
I
know.
don't know. We'll see when it comes out.
Yeah,
We'll give it a good. We'll give it the old college try.
yeah. I'm
But
definitely gonna try it out.
so, all right. Well, look forward to that one. That's closed the alpha coming soon on that. So, all right. Moving on to our final story for the week. Circana numbers for February 2024. Interesting month. So, total video game sales for the month of February 2024, 4.714 billion this year versus 4.636 billion last year. That's a 2% increase. Video game content, this is full games, microtransactions, subscriptions, etc. 4.146 million or billion rather this year versus 3.962 billion last year. That is a 5% increase year over year. Hardware 349 million this year versus 498 million last year. That is a 30% decrease,
Yikes!
which is weird. That is interesting. Video game accessories 219 million this year versus 175 million last year. That is a 25% increase. Then top 20 games in the US for the month of February 2024. Number 1, Helldivers 2. Number
Yes,
2,
sir.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Number 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Number 4, Skull and Bones. Number 5,
Ugh.
Tekken 8. Number 6, Madden NFL 24. Number 7, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Number 8, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth Twin Pack. What the fuck? Number 9, P3 Persona 3 Reload. Number 10, Hogwarts Legacy. Number 11, Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Number 12,
Okay.
EA Sports FC 24. Number 13, Marvel Spider-Man 2. 14, Elden Ring. 15, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. 16, Minecraft. 17, Mario Kart
Part
8.
8. What the fuck, man? You cannot get
Number
away from this
18, Mortal
game.
Kombat 1. Number 19, Rainbow Six Siege. Number 20, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Mario Kart, always on the list, forever on this list, man. Nintendo is just like what's the point of making Mario Kart 9? Like, what is even the point? You guys just keep buying 8. Like, what does it matter, you know? Helldivers 2 though, man, number 1. This game is gonna be one of the best selling games of the year. It looks like.
I
Like
think so,
I think
man.
it sold more than 10 million copies.
You think so? Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting pretty crazy with it. And it's the best selling game of the year so far. So, which
Yeah,
is
that's.
interesting.
I mean, it's definitely worth it. I mean, it definitely deserves it, man. I don't want to say shame on Sony because they did promote this game. Um,
No, they didn't.
they did. At
They
almost
really
every
didn't.
state of play,
Dude,
they
they went it out. They put it out to die, bro. Like they didn't put any more. Like, yeah, sure, state of plays, but who fucking cares about that's not marketing. I mean, it is marketing, but it's not like what I'm talking about. They didn't push the game like on TV or like commercials or YouTube commercials or anything like that. Like they didn't. I don't think they believed in this game. Also, remember they had fucking Foam Stars coming out the same fucking day, you know?
Oh yeah, that's true.
From Square, and
They
they
really
didn't.
thought that game was gonna pop off.
Yeah, how wrong were could they, like how more wrong could they have been? You know,
Everyone knew that game was dead on arrival. Like
I
we all knew
know,
that.
but
Yeah.
like to be like we're gonna put this up against our second party live service game, Helldivers 2, and oh, it's fine. We'll just let it cannibalize our game, and it's like, no, Helldivers 2 fucking ate Foam Stars, spit it out, took a shit on it, and then kicked it into the fucking sun. You know, and then spread democracy in the rest of the galaxy. Like the game is fucking way more successful, I think, than anybody could have possibly imagined.
Hey
So
man, I am uh I remember saying like, I ate shit for the game. I was just like, Hell Divers, whatever. Like, why do they keep showing this fucking game? And then I played it. Actually, I don't even know why I bought this game, Justin. I think I
yeah,
saw like one little clip of somebody doing like a backwards dive and like
yeah,
shooting, and I was like, oh man, these game mechanics looks really cool. I'm just gonna fucking buy it. Fuck, it's only $40. And I was like, this is it. I love this game. I love this
yeah,
game. I love the corniness and everything. And because it reminds me of Starship Troopers. But
yeah.
yeah, I wasn't expecting the game to be, and I'm pretty sure Sony wasn't expecting the game to be like this. And I'm super proud of that studio and everything of that nature, man. I love underdog stories, especially for smaller studios. Um, and yeah, I think it's deserved so far.
Well,
To go up against a week before Final Fantasy and like kind of not a week. I think it was like 2 weeks
it was
actually.
two. It was 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, a lot of people in their mind had Final Fantasy in their head, bro. They weren't thinking of anything else. And to for a lot of people, I know a lot of people who didn't even pick up Final Fantasy, like, I'm still playing fucking Helldivers, bro. So it's
yeah,
like, I don't know, to go against that behemoth and then just conquer it, like that's fucking crazy to me. And it came out in the perfect window because, like, I don't think anything came out on the 8th. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things, man.
yeah. And well, I kind of feel like Arrowhead's gonna get purchased by Sony.
I hope
That
not. I
that
hope
feels
not.
like, yeah, but it feels like a good bet, man. Like I don't think Sony's gonna let them go. I mean, they have a relationship with them already too, and it kind of fits their behavior with acquisitions
Yeah.
over time. So I kind of feel like they're gonna get acquired. But what do you think though the game can do? What do you think they can do more long term to kind of increase revenue? Because obviously at a certain point, sales are gonna taper off, right, of the game.
Um, I don't know, to increase revenue.
Because that's what Sony's gonna want from this game long term is selling microtransactions, right? And from what I know, the game's microtransaction store is super cheap and generous. Like it costs like almost nothing, you know, to get some of
I
the
and I think
cosmetics.
that's what's going to continue to get them the money. People willingly buy stuff if you don't constantly shove it in their face, which is weird.
Yeah,
um, if the product is good enough, people will support it. It's almost akin to like the Devil May Cry 4 or 5 shit, where the microtransactions are in that game. If the game is good enough for Dragon's Dogma 2, people would like, well, I guess they're not overlooking it, but people will tolerate the microtransactions or even support the microtransactions because the actual game is very fucking good.
Mhm.
Um, excuse me. I feel like it's almost the same but reverse Genshin Impact, where Genshin Impact, that game's a really good example of a game that does shove microtransactions all in your fucking face. But the game mechanics are so good, the game itself is so good that you're like, yeah, I don't mind spending like $10, or some people go fucking crazy and spend $400. But like,
Yeah.
you don't mind spending that money because the game is just that good. And I think Helldivers is one of those games where um I think you already have a $40 buy-in, so I don't mind. I like that the microtransactions are not blasting in my face or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Um, I think just either releasing new free content and like the I think this is one of those rare games where it's just word of mouth, man. Like they have to constantly be engaged with the community, and the community is gonna keep thriving it forward and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And you just gotta do it. Like that's what the game created. So it's actually dependent on the community how much this game thrives and sells, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. What do you think though? Do you think they need to release more skins and just kind of hope people buy in bulk? Like they'll just be like, I'm gonna put $10 in and see how much I can get, kind of strategy. Or
I
I know
wouldn't
there's like a
mind.
battle pass in the game too,
Yeah, I
right?
wouldn't mind actually. Like, yeah, like I can customize my armor on some of my skin or the colors on my armor and shit like that. I wouldn't mind paying for that or buying that or um having just custom skins in general, or
Yeah.
maybe some collab custom skins or something of that nature. Uh, what Sony really should do is release this on other platforms. I think
Oh,
they
for
should. I think
sure.
they should release
Yeah.
this on Xbox 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even Switch if they can get it on there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, so I just had a thought. Here's the idea. So, can you have multiple cosmetic loadouts on your character in the game or no? You just have one and that's it?
You just have one. Like each armor set is its own color and armor and
Yeah,
stat.
but you can only have one on at a time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's the idea. So this is a game where you die a lot, right? And then
Mm.
you get respawned in and it's, it's supposedly technically like it's either a clone or it's like a new person.
It's a new person.
Um
Yeah.
have it so that you can have multiple cosmetic loadouts, and I mean a lot, like 10, 15, even 20 if you want to go crazy, and allow people to have them randomly spawn in with you. Like it just picks a random one and so
Yeah.
that would kind of encourage people to go into the microtransaction store and buy like a shitload of cosmetics.
Yeah.
Like that's it. There it is. There's your idea, Sony. Arrowhead, take it. Like that's. I feel like there's your strategy right there. Because like that would be awesome, dude. Like I would love that personally. Because that's always the thing I have with cosmetic microtransactions in any game is you can only wear one at a time. And at a certain point it gets like fucking silly to have spent $400 on cosmetics on one character, and I can only ever wear one skin at a time. Like fuck, League should do that too, dude. Actually, where when you die, you could spawn in with a different skin. If you have multiple, like why not? Why not? What the fuck? Why not?
Probably something to do
Obviously,
with the coding or something
it'd
like
be
that.
harder in League because it changes like ability animations and shit, and like
Yeah.
it'd probably be more difficult in League. But games should probably do that kind of thing more often. Especially if you're dying a lot. Why the hell not?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Um, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that or something like
That's too
that.
good of an idea, man. I feel like almost feel like it's sinister. Like it's gonna encourage people to spend a lot more money, you know. Because it's like, yeah, sure, I could have like 20 different loadouts, and I need enough skins to fill those 20 loadouts. So, but I don't know. I feel like in Helldivers though, it would be especially appropriate because when you die, it's like a new person coming down. So of
Yeah,
course they would have different looking equipment.
exactly.
Um, so yeah, I think that's interesting. Makes sense. But other stuff, Final Fantasy number 2, definitely cool to see. Skull and Bones at 4 though. Like, what
Yeah,
the
that's
hell?
weird, man. Unless they did something to this game. I heard the fucking release was terrible though.
There are some people that were singing its praises though, saying it was actually pretty decent. So I don't know. That's
Not from
kind of a
what I
weird one.
saw. And I wanted a good pirate game, and I was just like, not. I will skip this one.
Angry
It's
Joe
just,
went in like super hard on it.
yeah, because it's Assassin's Creed Black Flag without Assassin's Creed
The
Black
fun
Flag.
part,
Yeah,
the
the fun
fun part of
part.
the game. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they took out like you can board ships in Assassin's Creed. You do everything you do in Skull and Bones, but you can go underwater. You can board ships. You can take prisoners and all that shit.
You can
And
go
they
explore like islands and stuff, and you can't do
exactly,
that because you are the ship.
exactly.
Villain modes.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes it's annoying.
Other stuff that's interesting. I mean, obviously it's early in the year, so you kind of expect this, but Hogwarts Legacy and Elden Ring being on the list, top 20 list, is interesting. I mean, they're a year and 2 years old, respectively. Like, it's pretty nuts actually that those games are still selling that much. Which is interesting. And then Minecraft, of course, peeking onto the list, and Rainbow Six too, like jumping back out too. It's interesting. Interesting list this month. I will be very curious about March, however, because we do have some big hitters, but they're not that big. Like Rise of the Ronin and Dragon's Dogma 2 are like kind of middling selling games, I would probably call them. So I'll be interested to see where they fall on the list. And
Yeah,
then there's the new Peach game that also came out last week as well.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like Rise of the Ronin is gonna be one of those games where once it goes on sale, it's gonna fucking sell like hotcakes. Like once it drops down to like
Mm.
$50 or something like that, a lot of people are gonna buy it and play it. And then I'm gonna be seeing YouTube videos of like, we were wrong about Rise of the Ronin, like type shit or whatever. So it's gonna be
You'll see
really
those
funny.
tweets in a couple of years, like, man, y'all remember Rise of the Ronin? What a
Yep.
game!
Yep.
Like, what do you mean, what a game? But if any of you haven't played Neo 2 and you ever see it on sale for like $20, like the complete version of that game, I mean, what are you doing? Just buy it and play it. Like, seriously, it's so fucking good. Um, all right, Montreal. That's all we had for news this week. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go today?
Nope, that's it.
All right, let's get the fuck out of here then. All right, everybody. If you like this episode, please like the show and review the show and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. That's going to be it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next week. Bye.